This guy is a coward streamer who faints from horror games, and right now a blood-soaked ghost girl has him by the throat, slamming him onto the wet road. But why does he stay when she lets go? Because under all that blood, she's crying, begging him to save her, and her fear feels more real than his own life. It all started the night he got trapped inside a horror game, face to face with the one creature he was never supposed to see again. He thought he had enough time to prepare, but standing alone in the cold, everything he's been holding back finally breaks. He looks up and everything goes quiet. This is the one person he was never supposed to see again, and the fear is enough to choke the words right out of him. He stands trapped in a nightmare he cannot outrun, paralyzed while the creature looms over his shoulder. It leans in close, mocking his fear and asking if the little snail is finally done running. The tension snaps. He throws himself back with a scream, and the dark world of the game falls away as he gasps for air in the safety of his own room. The silence of the house feels thin after that shout, leaving him alone to laugh off a fright that got deep under his skin. His stream chat is already flooded with jokes about his fall, but he just stands there for a moment, waiting for his hands to stop shaking. The chat doesn't care though, and as the messages fly by mocking his fear, he bites back, telling them they won't understand the terror until they strap the headset on themselves. He grows more desperate, asking if they actually want to see a repeat of the time he literally passed out on stream. This is his life as a variety game streamer, a career built on the very suffering his audience seems to crave. Choi Do-yeon somehow manages to scrape together a living as a streamer, grinding through horror games until he can finally scream that it's all over. He's desperate for a win, asking his chat if they saw him find the exit in one go, but the viewers are already calling him out for secretly using a walkthrough. A donation from a viewer named Yudi pops up with a teasing question, asking if he would have stayed in the haunted school if the ghost had actually been pretty. Do-yeon immediately drops into a headstand to thank Yudi for the money, performing the kind of over-the-top gratitude that keeps a small channel alive. He tries to laugh off the joke while reaching for his mouse, but the fear he shows on camera isn't just for the views. Choi Do-yeon tries to sound rational as he wraps up his stream, reminding his viewers that no matter how beautiful a ghost looks, it's still a ghost. He drops a chilling warning that if a spirit actually looks pretty, it's only because you've already fallen under its spell. With a nervous energy he can't quite hide, he cuts the broadcast short, telling his chat he has to head home, which pulls Do-yeon back to the last time they spoke. Sagi had been his biggest supporter, telling him to ignore his family's worries and just go for it. That confident smile was the last thing Do-yeon remembers, leaving him with the sinking feeling that his friend found a game he couldn't get out of. Do-yeon keeps his voice light for the stream, promising everyone he'll head over to check on his friend tonight. The second the camera clicks off, the weight of the quiet room feels heavier than it should. He calls the one person who hasn't answered all day, waiting through the rings and wanting to hear a voice on the other end. When the call goes straight to voicemail, the worry he was hiding finally breaks through. Is this the start of something he can't fix? Sometimes the hardest thing to do is pretend everything is fine. Yudi's messages are piling up on the screen, a wall of yellow bubbles asking where he is until the vibration snaps Choi Do-yeon back to his room. He answers his mother and says he was about to leave. He pulls on his jacket while he works to keep the shake out of his voice. He tells her not to wait up and promises to arrive by dawn, already counting the minutes until he can finally stop pretending. The stream wraps up with Choi Do-yeon telling his chat he needs to say goodbye to his dad before heading out, cutting the broadcast off right before a notification pops up on his phone. Arriving at a highway rest stop after an hour and a half on the road, our protagonist exhales the breath he'd been holding the entire drive, pulling out his phone to check for updates while the quiet settles around him. Standing at the H-way rest stop, Choi Do-yeon stares at his phone in disbelief, wondering when Hang managed to reply with nothing more than a cryptic link to a strange app called Dugen Ghost Love. Woo Sung-jae would obsess over right before talking about an insanely good find and then completely dropping off the map. Choi Do-yeon stands alone at the rest stop parking lot, wondering if Woo Sung-jae actually ghosted them over some absurd download, but he taps his screen anyway and taps install, amused that his Hung always manages to unearth the strangest junk online. A sudden cracks of thunder splits the quiet night overhead, startling him mid-thought, and before he can even blink, the download finishes and a cold system warning flashes across the screen about midsummer snowfall and no way back out. Choi Do-yeon figures he has nothing better to do at his family's place anyway, so he checks his phone to test out the matching system he plans to stream later. He hits the road just as highway signs point toward Jeollero and Seoul. The weather turns without warning, pouring rain down on the car as he tries to remember if anyone mentioned rain today. The car's navigation system breaks the silence, announcing a route recalculation due to deviation. Do-yeon glances up, caught off guard by the sudden rerouting, while the automated voice tells him to turn left in a moment. Choi Do-yeon tells himself the GPS is just glitching out on a straight highway, but the navigation system tells him to turn left anyway. A creeping unease settles in as he glances at the screen, and the voice chimes in again, calmly announcing a route recalculation and a sudden U-turn. Panic flares behind his eyes as the screen starts looping demands to turn left, right, and back around in a chaotic rush. He curses at the relentless noise, desperately stabbing at the screen to shut the thing off. The navigation system cuts out with a robotic ping, leaving Choi Doyan staring through the windshield as he wonders if the glitching route finally ended, reeling from the sensory overload of the drive. He lets out a breath, telling himself it was nothing, but the words die in his throat when headlights catch a figure standing right in the middle of the empty road. Sudden terror freezing him behind the wheel as the car swerves hard against the wet pavement into a blinding spin. Driving along the dark, rain-slicked mountain road, Choi Doyan feels a violent jolt beneath his tires catching sight of a body in his rearview mirror. He scrambles out of the car into the pouring rain, rushing over to where she lies motionless. Kneeling beside her in the mud, he desperately urges her to wake up. Pulling out his phone, he freezes in sheer panic, completely torn on whether to call the police or an ambulance first. Choi Doyan freezes, his voice catching on a quiet, disbelieving breath as the text scrolling across his phone paints a picture of a rainy highway, a sudden crashes on the way home, and a fallen stranger standing back up with sorrow in her eyes. His mind races through options. Should he just run, or stay to ask why she's lingering in a world she doesn't belong to? He stares at the screen, caught between demanding car repairs and trying to call for help, cursing the random download as his phone locks up entirely, while an unworldly shadow looms right over him. Out of nowhere, the voice demands an answer, asking why it had to die, leaving Choi Do-yeon frozen in place as panic sets in. His mind races through the horror of what's happening right in front of him, shifting the accusation to a bitter question of why he was left behind to die. The creature looms directly over him, trapping Choi Do-yeon under its shadow, until he finally scrambles backward in a frantic panic. Staring in disbelief at the source of the voice, he listens to the final, lingering whisper fade into the rain, begging for help with a desperate plea that confirms the raw, unnatural danger standing right in front of him. Choi Do-yeon scrambles backward in pure panic, while his phone screen flashes a useless system warning to just run away. Sprinting down the rainy road with terror clawing at his throat, he knows whatever is chasing him is entirely not of this world. She stands in the middle of the road like a ghost that the rain forgot to wash away. She looks up, her voice flat and hollow as she asks if you are like the others who turned their back on her. The system alert flashes the bad news. She is unhappy, and the care she felt for you is falling faster than the storm. She hunches over her wounds and asks why everyone hates her. Is it that hard to look at her? Maybe she was wrong to think you were different. Everything breaks as the warning lands that the pain has turned into a sharp hate. She is done. Panicked in the heavy rain, Choi Do-yeon rattles the handle, but as he turns to run, the ghostly figure looms right behind him in the dark. Paralyzed by the sight, he's yanked off his feet by the throat, crashing hard onto the wet asphalt beneath her crushing grip. Choking for air under the terrifying weight, he gasps out in disbelief at the sheer force pinning him down. Utterly overwhelmed as the end closes in, Choi Do-yeon remembers the old saying that if a ghost looks beautiful, it means you're already possessed. But under the cold rain, the girl in front of him looks too human to ignore. She clings to him with a desperate strength, asking why he won't reach out to save her when she needs him most. He can't move. He wonders if he's already been possessed, but her fear feels more real than his own life. Then the truck's horn blasts through the air as the massive vehicle bears down on them both. Choi Do-yeon freezes as her world shrinks down to a single point. The truck is reflected in her eye as its headlights wash everything out, and then the metal twists as a spray of red hits the dark asphalt. In that last second before the darkness took her, she caught a look on the girl's face that didn't make sense. It was unbearably sad. Do-yeon lies crumpled on the pavement as his body finally starts to fail under a wave of agony. It's the kind of pain that turns the entire world into white noise, leaving him unable to do anything but hold on. When a gray-haired man rushes over and asks if he's all right, Do-yeon pushes the stranger's hand back and screams for him to stay away. He can't accept kindness right now, not when he feels like he's about to fall apart. Choi Do-yeon struggles to catch his breath. Nearby, a passerby watches with judgment, muttering that getting involved with strangers only leads to trouble. Do-yeon looks around, realizing he is standing in the middle of a rest stop. He knows he was just on the highway, wondering if any of it was real or just a bad dream. But even with that lingering doubt, a glowing system message flashes into view, announcing that he has died and restarted from his last save point. Before he can process the warning about an ongoing date, he stares at his phone in sheer disbelief, completely overwhelmed by the bizarre prompts demanding he either stay or leave the area. Choi Do-yeon is left reeling, struggling to process the weight of what just happened. A sudden interface window pulls up before him, laying out his personal details down to the last digit. Age 24, height 180 centimeters, weight 74 kilos, personality type ESFP. Right as a passerby steps close, asking if he's okay and wondering why he looks so unwell. The sudden voice cuts through his panic, driving him to bolt blindly across the rest stop parking lot, desperate to get back to the safety of his car, while the stranger calls out after him in confusion. Choi Do-yeon tells himself this can't be happening. He blames the exhaustion from streaming and editing all night, convincing himself that a game he installed couldn't possibly unleash something real. But when the car's navigation system suddenly barks that it is rerouting, he notices its erratic behavior, leaving our protagonist completely overwhelmed as he mutters that there is no way. Choi Do-yeon stares through the windshield, paralyzed by disbelief, as an injured girl blocks the dark highway ahead. Choi Do-yeon sits trapped in his car on a dark highway, panicking as he demands an explanation for the nightmare unfolding around him. His phone lights up on the seat beside him, startling him as another notification flashes across the screen. A system message reminds him of the bizarre loop pulling him between dream and reality for the second time already. He braces himself for whatever move the game is about to force on him, trying to convince himself that it is just a game in the end. He tells himself he will be fine, since he has played visual novels on his stream before, staring down at the multiple choice prompt on his phone screen and betting his survival on building up enough affection. Choi Do-yeon tells himself that even safe choices only bring an average outcome, but as panic sets in, he just wants to get it over with. Then the shock hits him clean, because outside his car window, an injured girl asks why he is turning away and why she has to suffer alone. As the system text names the cruel logic of a dating simulation, she keeps crying out that it is unfair, reducing everything to a simple game of choices. Choi Do-yeon is forced to face what is right in front of him, while a system message tells him it will be okay. Breaking under the sudden pressure of the system's praise, Choi Do-yeon hesitantly steps forward through the rain to check on the injured girl leaning against the car. She stares back with a fixed, unblinking gaze, leaving him stammering out panicked reassurances that he is not a suspicious person and only wants to help. Staring down at the illogical phone screen, he freezes as the system cheerfully offers to take them both for a drive home. A system message flickers in the dark, and the girl waits there in the heavy rain like a shadow. She looks fragile in the storm. Her clothes are soaked in blood while the wind tears at her hair. Choi Do-yeon made the choice, but holding the umbrella over her head makes his heart want to fail. He is so scared he can barely breathe, his mind racing for an exit while he stays by her side. It is too quiet. Why is she staring? If he made the wrong move, he won't make it out of the parking lot alive. The rain comes down hard in the empty lot, washing over a pair of bare, bloodied feet that haven't moved in a long time. Do-yeon stands frozen under his umbrella as a girl with tangled hair and a battered face leans into his space, her voice barely a whisper when she asks if he can see her. It's the kind of question that changes everything, and he can't even find the breath to lie. She's real. She's right there, and the desperation in her eyes says she's been waiting for someone to finally look back. But the moment shatters before he can say a word, and the world turns into a blur of metal and screaming tires. The terror is a cold weight in Choi Do-yeon's chest as he stares into the dark, but the sound of the girl's broken voice brings the world back into focus. She clings to him in the downpour, her hands stained with blood as she begs him not to leave her behind. It isn't a threat anymore. It's just a girl who's reached her limit, terrified of being alone in the cold. Her composure finally snaps, and she collapses against him, letting out a raw, desperate sob that cuts right through the sound of the rain. Do-yeon watches her, the reality of what just happened finally sinking in. He made a choice to stay, and in this moment, he's the only anchor she has left. A message pops up to say she's finally out of danger, but Do-yeon stays right where he is, holding her close while the rain hits the dark pavement. He watches her cry and wonders what kind of story could break a person this deeply. He reaches out to steady her. She looks up to tell him she's sorry for causing so much trouble, and Do-yeon finally admits they're both going to freeze to death if she doesn't step aside soon. Rain lashes against the windshield, the only sound on a dark road that just became a crime scene. Choi Do-yeon stares ahead, his mind completely blank as he tries to process the weight of the girl now sitting in his passenger seat. She's covered in blood and weeping into her hands, a jagged contrast to the quiet life he was living just minutes ago. He manages to get her inside the car and out of the downpour, but the relief he expects never comes. Instead, he looks down at his phone and finds his world shifting again, forced into a free date by a system that doesn't care about the blood on her sweater. Choi Do-yeon stares at his phone, spiraling as he realizes there are no dialogue choices to save him from this mess, just total abandonment. He's left wondering what he could possibly do to fix this, until a deafening horn blast jars him back to the present. A massive truck roars past his tiny car in the pouring rain, and he remembers that this exact vehicle was the one that killed him when his story first began. He knows stopping on a highway is suicide, and he forces himself to set the game aside because staying alive has to come first. His plan is simple: find a safe spot to pull over and wait for her to calm down so they can finally talk. He reaches out, hoping there's still a way to bridge the distance between them. Doyan leans toward her, his voice careful and quiet as he mentions the door on her side isn't closed properly. He wants to be the person she can trust right now, someone who can fix the small things while her world is falling apart. As he reaches for the handle, he has to force himself to stay steady. He's trying so hard to be the anchor she needs, but the pressure of the moment makes his hand slip against the cold latch. Her voice breaking as she asks how this could be anything less than deliberate. The silence stretches out until the injured girl asks if this was the reason she was brought here, forcing Choi Do-yeon into a frantic, terrified denial as he swears it was all a terrible accident. He babbles that the door was jammed, convinced he is about to die right here in the car. He insists he only tried to help because he thought the ghost needed a hand with the door, swearing up and down that he is just a harmless guy who lacks the backbone for anything malicious. The injured girl sits in dead silence, leaving him to try one last desperate, trembling apology. But the injured girl beside him just studies him in silence. Desperate not to seem like a threat, Doyan quickly backtracks, telling her they can stay put if she prefers. The absurdity of his social anxiety catches the injured girl off guard, and she bursts into genuine laughter, leaving Doyan completely baffled by the sudden shift in the car. She apologizes through her smile, admitting she was just relieved the first person she ran into wasn't a weirdo. Sitting beside him in the quiet cab of the car, Haeyeon thanks him for the ride, telling her his name is Choi Doyan. And as the rain drums against the roof, she wonders how long it's been since she spoke to anyone like this. He brushes off the detour as nothing, but she admits she had already stopped hoping for kindness. Driving through the heavy rain, Choi Doyan tries to break the silence, asking what happened and why she was out on this lonely road before quickly backtracking so he doesn't cause her more distress, telling himself it was just curiosity. Before she prepares to speak, admitting she has no idea either, telling him how a stranger dragged her away and left her abandoned on the dark highway. At first, Haeyeon didn't even realize she was gone, believing instead that surviving was just a stroke of luck as she hurried along the dark road, only to notice that something felt deeply wrong. That slow realization settled in. She had died back on that highway, trapped alone in the space where her life ended, so when someone finally spoke to her inside the car, she couldn't bring herself to believe it. She catches herself, apologizing softly for sharing so much, just desperate to hold on to a single moment of normalcy, while the fear freezes the man beside her. Haeyeon admits that just the hope of seeing her family is enough to bring her to tears. He struggles to find any way to comfort her. The navigation screen shows 20 minutes left as every kilometer brings them closer to the question he's been dreading. What if they can't even see her? Haeyeon waits a beat before asking if he'd mind letting her stay with him a little longer and then shifts her focus back to the final message she needs him to deliver. Choi Do-yeon tries to make sense of the surreal weight pressing down on him, his eyes lingering on the unusual passenger sharing the space with him, until he finally gives a quiet, resolute answer. Sitting behind the wheel, he wonders if she's really nothing more than a generated piece of a game. He has questions that might never get answered, but as he looks over at Haeyeon, finding an odd comfort in the quiet space they share, he decides it's enough just to keep moving forward. He stays with the quiet weight of her absence, wishing she could have found her family before a sudden notification tone breaks the stillness. He stares at the screen as the game's timer runs out, warning him that the first midnight date is ending. A sudden chill runs through the car, and the atmosphere outside shifts into something heavier. He turns to look, calling out her name as reality bends around them. She sits there in the shadows, stained in blood, and the horror of what she's become finally sets in. Sitting inside the car, Haeyeon apologizes for everything the brown-haired man has done to help her, admitting that she only ever seems to regain her senses when night falls. She knows asking for more of his time is selfish, especially since she will be staying at her parents' house until tomorrow. He leans in closer, eager to bridge the distance between them, and asks if they can meet again tonight at the exact same time and place. She hesitates for a quiet moment, weighing the danger against how badly she wants to see him again, before finally agreeing to wait for him. The midnight date finally hits its end at Dongwoo intersection, leaving Choi Do-yeon waiting out the silence for the verdict. The score drops on his screen, 80 points, paired with a single death penalty. His romance rank sits at B-, but the system isn't done yet, awarding 40 LP and unlocking the shop just as morning breaks over the quiet road. He stares down at his phone, completely at a loss for what to make of it. As Choi Do-yeon stares at the wheel, her words echoing in the empty cabin as she tries to make sense of a reality that suddenly feels entirely fake. Sitting alone in the car, the weight of it finally catches up to her, leaving nothing behind but the quiet dark. Do-yeon stares at the missing person alert as the world around him goes quiet because the name on the flyer isn't just a stranger's, it's hers. Haeyeon. It started with a choice that should have meant nothing, just a game he installed on a quiet night to kill some time. He thought he was walking into a simple fantasy, but the world he's trapped in now is a mangled version of that promise. The girl he was supposed to meet is gone, replaced by a haunting figure in a blood-stained mask that turns the very idea of a dating sim into a waking nightmare. Doyeon looks at her notebook and asks the question that has been haunting her. Do the people who were murdered return as ghosts just to play a role in this game? If she is right, every stranger they meet might be someone who never said goodbye. Choi Doyeon stares down at the pages in his hands, his breath catching as the reality of it sinks in. Ghosts are bound to the places where they died, trapped by their physical remains until morning light burns them away, and just like any dating simulator, there's no way to quit or delete the game. The only way out is to raise their affection and reach an ending. But as his eyes scan the impossible rules, the room around him shifts, and a figure steps through the flames behind him, wearing a blood-stained rabbit head and whispering a warning to hide before her hair gives him away. He freezes at the sound close by, his heart hammering against his ribs as she paces through the burning room, muttering that even the garden won't save him if he steps on the seeds. The warning flashes on the screen with brutal clarity. Her affection level is pure hatred, and the only choice left is to run. Choi Doyeon freezes as Ha-yeon warns him away from the fence, his eyes catching on a single terrifying detail in the gloom before the final whisper lands right behind him. A cold system message flashes across his vision, crashing down over the city skyline like a bad omen. Inside the car, Choi Doyeon gasps for breath, the shock cutting through him as he struggles to anchor himself in reality. He grabs his own arm, cursing under his breath as the cruel absurdity of it all sets in. Why is this happening to him? Down in the quiet underground parking lot, the car sits in isolation, leaving him alone with the wreckage. Choi Doyeon tries his brother's number again, but the phone just rings out into the empty underground parking lot, leaving him alone with his frustration and wondering what the hell his brother is up to. Time slips away while he sits trapped. He stares at the phone that keeps returning no matter how far he throws it, flashing the same system error from the ghost dating sim that refuses to stay uninstalled. Looking down at the screen, he realizes the terrifying rules of the trap he's caught in. There is a hard limit to his lives, and every failure brings him closer to the end. Choi Doyeon stares at the strange interface floating before him. He knows the lost notebook holds the answers he needs, but the thought of returning to that place leaves him frozen, haunted by Ha-yeon's lingering invitation to meet after dark. Sitting in the parking garage solves nothing, and as he steels his resolve, he remembers the promise he made to help. He has to move, trusting that somehow he will find a way through this. Stopping a local resident in the alleyway, only to learn they moved out over a year ago after one of the daughters went missing. When he asks where they went, the resident warns him to leave them alone so they can start fresh with their younger daughter. Walking away, Doyeon is left wondering how the neighborhood could be so blind to the truth about Ha-yeon, realizing the trip was entirely pointless now that anyone who might have answers has vanished. Choi Doyeon stands alone in the quiet alley, thinking of a girl who only exists in the dark. He had hoped meeting her family would bring her home, but the plan is falling apart just as his phone starts ringing with a call from his mother, who sounds full of sharp disappointment as she tells him his whole family is waiting for him. He promises he'll be there tomorrow, but his eyes drift toward the face on a missing person poster even as he apologizes and hangs up before she can finish. These spirits don't have much time before they vanish in the morning, and he knows he's the only one left who can help her now. Doyeon looks at the flyer, wondering how the neighbors could still think this girl is just missing. He needs to meet Ha-yeon and ask her directly what happened to her body. He climbs into his car and shouts in frustration at his phone screen because it's already so late. He rests his head in his hand, dreading the moment he has to tell his viewers that he found nothing today. Somewhere far from the city noise, Ha-yeon sits alone on the railing of a bridge. She stares into the dark with a quiet ache, trapped in her own silence in the clothes she died in. Ha-yeon stands on the edge of the highway and watches the cars zoom past her without stopping while she leans against the railing to wait, until a cold rain arrives and turns the highway into a blur of light. The look of reassurance she was forcing disappears as she curls into a ball on the wet pavement to hide. Out on a dark, rainy highway, the brown-haired man finds Ha-yeon battered and bruised, asking if she is okay while rushing out a messy apology for sleeping through his alarm, until the true severity of her condition finally registers in his eyes. She admits the fear she had been carrying in the dark. She genuinely thought he wasn't coming, and the heavy, aching fragility in her voice cuts right through him. Standing close in the rain to keep her safe as the night settles around them, Ha-yeon wishes she could disappear from embarrassment, asking Choi Doyeon how his family is doing after he mentions visiting her old home. Filler. She asks if he mentioned her name, bracing herself as Choi Doyeon tells her that her family moved away a year ago and strangers live there now. She tries to brush it off with a quiet apology for sending him on a wasted trip, but Choi Doyeon says nothing, letting the heavy silence fill the car instead of offering pity. Inside the quiet space of the car, Choi Doyon suggests pulling over at a nearby convenience store to talk, catching Ha-yeon completely off guard, her hands tightly clutched together in shock as he promises to help her sort through it all, offering to contact her parents or report everything to the police. But the heavy silence lingers until she hesitates, looking over at him with a quiet uncertainty. She has nothing to offer him in return, wondering why he bothered to step in when walking away would have been so much easier. He keeps his eyes on the dark, rainy road ahead, quietly wrestling with the absurdity of a reality that feels more like a game he should just delete, even though he knows he cannot say a word of it. Doyon is just trying to drive when a sharp ping from his phone pulls his attention away. A pink box is forcing him to explain why he stayed by Ha-yeon's side while the timer runs down. Ha-yeon is waiting for an answer, her eyes asking the one question he isn't ready to face. He opens his mouth but nothing comes out until he covers his face and admits the truth, that she is his type. The system prompt hangs in the air between them, leaving Ha-yeon caught somewhere between surprise and quiet disbelief. She tries to find her voice, but Choi Doyon starts rambling in a panic, backpedaling hard on what he just admitted while keeping his eyes on the rainy road. He stumbles over his own words, admitting that he only pulled over because he saw someone hurting and wanted to help. He brushes it off as nothing special, and Ha-yeon shifts the mood. The car navigation system cuts through the silence to say that the destination is coming up fast. Ha-yeon hesitates, asking if he planned to come here all along, while the navigation system chimes that they are about to reach their destination. Choi Doyon listens in silence while he drives, the motel parking lot coming into view. He points out a convenience store to break the tension, leaving her staring at him in total disbelief that he just picked the nearest spot. Walking beneath the shadow of a shared umbrella in the quiet chill of the motel parking lot, Ha-yeon teases him with a sideways glance and a wry warning about the hidden motives behind kindness, pretending to worry that he might be leading her somewhere dangerous just to demand ransom, or worse, from her family, until Choi Doyon stumbles into a frantic, flustered defense, his eyes wide with absolute disbelief as she breaks into a bright laugh at how easy he is to wind up. The tension softens into a rare, quiet comfort as she admits she finally feels safe enough to let her guard down. Ha-yeon stands in the downpour and tells him he doesn't seem like the person she expected, but she just laughs it off and claims she was talking to herself even as the cold starts to set in. The shop they were looking for is closed, so Doyon checks his phone while the rain beats down on the umbrella and Ha-yeon asks if they should just keep going forward. She suggests taking shelter at the motel nearby so they can talk. He looks at her, battered and shivering, and knows they can't stay out in this storm much longer. Ha-yeon collapses onto the motel bed, leaving Choi Doyon baffled by her sudden shift in mood as she sinks into the mattress. When he asks if she came here just for the bed, she reminds him what it is like to live alone on asphalt every day with only highways and deer cries for company. She tells Doyon he should lie down too, leaving him overwhelmed and flustered by the awkward invitation. Choi Doyon is caught off guard by the sheer unbothered directness, but she pivots instantly to what she found while he was gone, explaining that ghosts with physical bodies tend to linger right where they died, only to vanish completely when the sun comes up. She sets a missing person flyer down on the bed, telling him she found it at Ha-yeon's house and that the residents claim she vanished 2 years ago, a reality the missing persons center confirmed is still active. Looking straight at Ha-yeon, she asks what actually happened. Ha-yeon tries to make sense of where it all went wrong, tracing back to an ordinary night walking home after her part-time shift until a luxury car clipped her out of nowhere. When she finally pulled herself back toward consciousness, the wreckage was already done and the street was quiet. A man stumbled out from the driver's side, leaning against the wall as he tried to call someone in a panic, but then he turned and saw that she was still breathing. Ha-yeon relives the moment the man closed the distance and cut off her breath until everything went dark. Those hands reaching for her still haunt her while she remembers waking up in the back of a car, and a rose tattoo on the man's hand is the only detail she has from the drive to an old warehouse. She tries to find anything else in the shadows, but Doyon tells her it's okay and stays right there by her side. Choi Doyon pieces the puzzle together, wondering if a drunk driving accident caused the tragedy, only for panic and fear of punishment to drive the culprit to impulsively hide the body. First, they need to check satellite maps for abandoned warehouses, hoping to narrow down the area and eventually track down Ha-yeon's body. There is a fierce, quiet resolve in him to catch the criminal together, because a murderer has to pay for what they did. Turning to Ha-yeon, he asks if she remembers any family contact information that was left off the missing person poster so things can move forward. She sits quietly, struggling to process the request. Sitting in the quiet room, Ha-yeon feels the heavy weight of the years that slipped past while she was gone. Choi Do-yeon refuses to let her carry that fear, reminding her that her family walked away only because the empty house held too many memories to bear. Backing up his words with what the neighbors told him during his search, Do-yeon gently insists that her family loved her too deeply to ever forget, and everyone wants this reunion just as much as she does. Ha-yeon offers her help even if things go sideways, though she hides what she really feels behind a soft smile. When Choi Do-yeon presses on, she realizes he went out of his way asking questions on purpose, and the quiet care behind it touches her more than she expected. As the hour gets late, Choi Do-yeon wonders if they should leave a text message first, right before the system chimes to confirm her affection level has gone up. He celebrates the win quietly to himself, but the mood shifts as he looks at his phone at a contact he knows he will never see again, Ha Byung-tae. Choi Do-yeon mentions a name he just found on KakaoTalk, asking if her father is Ha Byung-tae, and the mere mention cracks her composure, sending them both crashing down as she lunges for the device and catches him off guard. She holds his gaze with fierce intensity, leaving him frozen by her sudden proximity, while a desperate, unsteady hope blooms in her chest. As Choi Do-yeon tries to brush off the heavy weight resting against him, Ha-yeon just leans in closer, teasing him about the flush climbing up his neck. When he reaches up to push her back, she catches him off guard by calling out his reaction. He laughs it off, admitting he didn't even notice, before she suggests they figure out what to tell his family first. Muttering about how gross he feels after 2 days in the rain without a shower, Do-yeon decides to wash up first. Ha-yeon gives a playful nod as Choi Do-yeon heads toward the bathroom, letting out a soft breath as she collapses onto the mattress and relishes the quiet comfort of a clean bed after so long outside. A quiet smile touches her lips as she admits to herself that she's been teasing him more than she meant to, finding a strange, deep peace in the shared silence that makes her wish morning would never have to come. Rinsing off the heavy weight of the day, Choi Do-yeon stands under the water, lost in thoughts he can't quite shake. Out on the table, a smartphone buzzes against the wood, vibrating with an incoming call that catches Ha-yeon's eye. Seeing the screen, she whispers the name flashing in the light, Sak Jae-hyung. Down on the rain-slicked floor of the construction site, Choi Do-yeon curls into himself, whispering a desperate plea for mercy. His phone buzzes against the cold concrete, a frantic call from his mother echoing through the empty space as she begs him to pick up. The floor around him is stained with dark smudges, and when Ha-yeon appears before him, her voice breaks the silence with a soft, haunting title. He stares up, frozen in absolute shock, as the twisted, monstrous shape of what used to be a girl asks why he is running away from her. She reminds him of the words he once said about her looks, anchoring every terrifying second to the broken promise of a date they were supposed to share. Ha-yeon corners her prey in the quiet neighborhood, asking why anyone would run away. An automated voice notes that the customer isn't picking up the phone while the call keeps ringing, dragging out the silence. The purple-haired woman wonders if she should have spoken up sooner, the quiet hanging heavy between them as the brown-haired man brushes it off, telling her that if nothing's wrong, they'll call back eventually. Letting the room settle into the dim glow of the monitor, where her voice comes small and heavy with concern. It is a feeling that seems far too intimate for two people who barely know each other. He promises he's fine on the floor, making excuses about a sore back to keep the distance between them safe for one more night. She pauses. The air in the room is heavy with questions she's just about ready to voice. She breaks the quiet to ask what his life is like. How long has he been forced to look at the ghosts no one else can see? As Choi Do-yeon lies there in the dim room, he admits he has no ties to that world at all, explaining to Ha-yeon that he works as a game streamer, and that she's actually the first dead person he has ever laid eyes on. Ha-yeon asks if his gift came to him all at once, finding it amusing to think she holds that place in his life. When she pushes to visit his apartment and see how he runs his broadcasts, Do-yeon flinches at the thought of showing her his messy space, but she only leans in closer, wanting to see it all the more. Choi Do-yeon settles into a rare moment of comfort, offering to invite her over once Ha-yeon's business is settled, which prompts a genuinely excited confession from the purple-haired woman about it being her first time visiting a guy's place. A fleeting moment of embarrassment leaves him quiet, but she feels a deep connection building between them and tests the waters of his affection by asking if she can request one more thing. When he turns his full attention to her, she hopes for a future together, asking softly if tomorrow can be the same, only for the sudden weight of his isolation to hit him the moment she's gone. Choi Do-yeon looks up into the empty room, his voice dropping as he calls out for Ha-yeon right before the screen flashes to life with the system notification that the midnight date has ended out in the rain. The system window follows up with the score calculation, landing on an A rank and a bonus of 60 LP, while the numbers settle on screen. Left alone in the quiet motel room, Choi Do-yeon stares down at his phone as the sudden silence settles over him. Choi Do-yeon stands in the hallway outside the door, bracing himself to face what's waiting on the other side, letting out a long breath as he steels his nerves against the weight of his own past. He tells himself he kept his promise just by showing up here, but the memory of Hayan's father cuts straight through him with a harsh reminder of every past failure. Those old words still echo in his ears, demanding to know how he can act so high and mighty when he has nothing left to back it up. Doyan stands in the hallway, his fingers hovering over the keypad as he fights the urge to just turn and walk away. He tells himself it's just one dinner, a quick meal so he can finally go back home. But as the door unlatches, the air feels thick with an old tension that makes his skin crawl. That feeling pulls a sharp memory of Hayan's father to the surface, and for a second he's back in a kitchen where he never felt welcome. He remembers the quiet way the man used to watch him, and his breath catches as the fear settles back into his chest. He's already wishing he hadn't come. As Hayeon's father starts the conversation with an awkward greeting about how things have been going, Choi Do-yeon braces for the criticism that always seems to follow. His mother tries to maintain a facade of domestic normalcy, telling him to wait a little while his brother arrives. Once dinner begins, Hayeon's father turns all of his attention to the successful medical resident, pressing him about the demanding life of a doctor and telling him not to let his guard down, leaving Do-yeon to quietly internalize the heavy, silent comparison to his brother. His mother steps in to push back against the constant pressure, asking why he keeps pushing someone who is already doing fine, while his brother smooths over the tension with practiced humility and brushes it off as advice born from experience. Hayeon's mother says that having her eldest son home is the only thing keeping her steady. His father asks how he's been doing lately, and the question lands like a weight. Do-yeon starts to answer, but he can't find the words to tell them the truth. He watches his father eat in silence. 3 years ago, he finally broke and ran away from this house, and even as he ties his shoes to leave, he knows he hasn't earned the right to come back. Do-yeon is almost out the door when his brother's voice stops him. He mumbles a clumsy lie about the store that doesn't even land, but his brother isn't buying it. That timeline hits a nerve Do-yeon wasn't ready to face, and as he warns his young to stay out of it, he grabs the handle and steps out into the hallway to leave the weight of that house behind. Choi Do-yeon stares at the cold response on his screen, another door slammed in his face. He is just trying to help a girl named Hayeon find her way home, but her father wants nothing to do with him. The rejection is total. The silence tells him how alone he is in this. Still, he does not quit. He stops at a local hardware store and buys a shovel, preparing for the heavy work ahead. Between the gas money and motel fees, his wallet is empty. This month is going to be nothing but cup noodles. It is a price he is willing to pay because Hayeon is still waiting. Sometimes, the hardest part of a relationship isn't the distance, but the things you don't know yet. Do-yeon sits alone in the dim light of a motel room, the quiet pressing in while he weighs a choice that could change everything. He speeds through the city roads and checks the shop that tracks the points he earns on his dates. He sits back in his motel room and scrolls through his options until he chooses the magnifying glass to reveal a secret about his target. He keeps his eyes on the map as the distance disappears, and his gaze hardens as the destination finally comes into view. The car pulls up to a lonely warehouse. He stares at the entrance, ready for whatever secret is waiting inside. Standing near the warehouses where he crossed paths with Hayeon, Choi Do-yeon traces back old photos from 2 years ago to pinpoint the only spot left unchanged with shipping containers, though the single reference photo he holds leaves him wondering how he's supposed to narrow down the search. Pushing the doubt aside, he decides the small mountain won't take long to clear on foot, but hours of climbing wear him down until every breath feels heavy and his limbs ache from the relentless slope. Bending double with his hands on his knees, the absolute absurdity of hunting for a single hollowed tree in a dense forest. He decides he should just talk to Hayeon's family instead, hoping that if the bereaved relatives get involved, things might somehow fall into place, even if it is just his own theory. He knows he needs to meet Hayeon one more time, but his footing gives out completely on the rough ground. A memory flashes of an injured girl crying out in the rain, asking why no one is saving her, and Choi Do-yeon lies in the dirt, haunted by the vision, pushing through the exhaustion on Danggu Mountain until the sudden weight of the danger hits him. He needs to work and save up for rent, and he has no time to waste on this. With a sharp breath, he commits to the task and drives the shovel into the ground. Under the cover of night, Choi Do-yeon digs into the damp earth, and the shovel's steady beat fills the silent trees. He tells himself this person is a stranger he just met 2 days ago. If there was any other way to end this game, he would have taken it. He drops the shovel and tears into the dirt with his bare hands, driven by a frantic need to see what's underneath. Choi Do-yeon stares down at the earth and asks what he's even looking at, because the shape in the dirt is worse than anything he could have prepared for. He came here for answers. He wanted to find her, but he never expected the search to end like this. Do-yeon hears his name, a voice that shouldn't be here, and the sound stops him in his tracks as Hayeon steps out from the trees. She studies her own hands and says the nightmare is gone. Her gaze feels like a dream he never wants to leave. She shifts her focus to his mud-stained clothes. Hayeon watches him with a quiet, steady gaze, while Choi Do-yeon stares down into the shallow grave and tries to find his voice. recognizing her at last as she tells him she knew he would be the one to find her. She tells him how different this feels from waking up by the forest road, admitting that waking in this strange place left her completely turned around. Seeing the weight breaking him, she tries to smile it away, telling him not to worry since she already knows she's gone. He closes his eyes against the crushing guilt tearing through him, refusing to let go of the blame even as she gently asks if any of this was ever his fault. Doyan can't even look up as the weight of everything starts to sink in, and when Hayan reaches out to touch his hair, she tells him that seeing him like this makes her heart ache even more. He wants to believe he could have done something to change things. The silence of the woods is the only answer he has left. He feels more powerless than he ever thought possible. Soon the forest is crawling with police, and as Doyan stands near the warehouse lights, an officer approaches to ask if he's the one who made the report. Detective Han Young-cheol steps forward next, flashing his ID as he asks for the details, but Doyan just nods. Han Young-cheol brings a heavy load of questions straight from the crime scene, zeroing in on Choi Doyan's far-fetched story about stumbling across strange marks on a whim and unearthing a body while conveniently carrying a shovel at midnight. Doyan feels the logic closing in around him, but Young Cheol waves off the official station protocol as mere curiosity, pressing deeper into the uncanny odds of picking the exact patch of earth where a corpse is buried. Panicking under the weight of the accusation, Doyan blurts out a desperate defense, claiming he only dug because he felt terrible for Hayan. Han Young-cheol presses Choi Doyan for answers about the girl's identity, leaving our protagonist torn between showing him the truth on his phone and keeping silent while Hayan desperately insists he tried to help her. As Doyan pleads for trust, Ha Byung-tae bursts onto the scene, breathless and frantic, leaving Ha-yeon stunned into silence as she breathes a quiet recognition for the father who rushed to find her. Standing out by the quiet roadside at night, Ha Byung-tae grabs Choi Do-yeon by the jacket and demands to know where his daughter is, the sudden confrontation leaving Choi Do-yeon startled as he tries to explain that Ha-yeon is right there next to him. Hesitating to speak the impossible truth aloud, Choi Do-yeon watches as Detective Han Young-cheol steps into the light with a police officer, leaving Choi Do-yeon to brace himself for the scrutiny about to land on them. Ha-yeon reaches out, her fingers brushing against the sleeve she cannot touch, and as she calls for her father, her voice gets lost in the wind. She has been shouting for 2 long years while his eyes look right through her. She couldn't leave because she knew her family was searching, but the silence of being unseen for so long is starting to change her. Do-yeon watches her silent pleading and tells the man that his daughter is still standing in this spot. He answers the question the father has been pushing for by describing the night on the highway when a bloody ghost blocked his car. He was terrified and tried to run, but the tears in her eyes made him stay to hear the plea she has been holding on to. He tells the father the one thing she wants more than anything. Her name is Ha-yeon. Ha-yeon feels a quiet wave of relief as someone finally acknowledges her presence, while Choi Do-yeon admits his earnest reasons for coming all this way, standing near the highway accident site at night among the gathered men and the police officer to drop the heavy truth that he can see the dead. Ha-yeon's brother grabs onto any shred of hope, asking if his sister is truly right there with them, and Choi Do-yeon confirms it with a steady nod. Ha Byung-tae stands silent, completely overwhelmed by the revelation, before turning away to head back to the car for a moment to compose himself. Choi Do-yeon waits quietly as the heavy weight of the moment settles over everyone left behind. Ha Byung-tae clings to this doll like it is the only piece of his daughter left in the world. It is an old, tattered thing, Yeon, I never outgrew, and he has carried it every single day since she vanished as a promise that she would someday return. He looks at Do-yeon and asks for the one piece of proof that could bring his heart peace. If his daughter is really there, she will know the doll's secret name. Yeon-ai reaches across the veil to bridge the distance between them. The doll drifts away from his hands, pulled into the air by a touch only a father's heart could recognize. The world stops. The boy can't see the spirit, but he can't look away from the impossible sight. Do-yeon relays the name Yeon-ai has been waiting to say for years, Manya. Do-yeon watches as she names her new friend Manya. Do-yeon sits through hard questioning with Han Young-cheol, who looks like he's heard every lie in the book and isn't buying this one. It's a battle of words against a man who only trusts what he can see. When he steps back out into the night air, he feels like he's been holding his breath for hours. But Ha-yeon is still there, waving as they part ways, and he knows they aren't just strangers anymore. 2 cold coffee cans sit side by side on the wooden slats, and Ha Byung-tae forces the words out through a throat tight with gratitude, promising to find a way to repay Do-yeon for helping his daughter. Do-yeon only looks away, whispering that it was nothing he hadn't wanted to do. But the grief crashes back before the gratitude can even settle, tearing open the raw, agonizing truth of a father who watched his diligent child suffer through a lifetime of hardship without ever finding peace. The sorrow breaks him wide open as he whispers into the empty air, terrified of what will happen to her now. Doyon sits beside him, feeling every ounce of that shattered despair settle in his own chest. When he finally speaks, it is to ask if he can bridge the impossible gap and share the message Haeyeon left behind, and Byung-tae nods, desperate for any sign that she is still reachable. Doyon delivers her final words through a quiet breath, offering the forgiveness her father needs so desperately to hear. Standing in the shadow of the accident that took her, Haeyeon thinks of the family she left behind, finding a fragile comfort in the way her father somehow managed to keep going. She offers a final, gentle apology for leaving him too soon, resting a quiet hand on his head as the grief overwhelms him. She holds onto a desperate, unspoken hope, asking the one thing she wants more than anything, to be born as his daughter again. He grips the small toy in a desperate hold, finally letting his voice break as he calls out for her. At last, Haeyeon finds the words she needed to leave behind. She thanks her father for the life they shared, and she feels a quiet peace as the last of her weight lifts. Doyon is left alone in the silence of the park as the night wears him down. A new window flickers to life to mark the end of her road, and it tells him her soul is ready to return, but she still clings to this world. He's the only one left, and he has a choice to make that might change everything. He scans the shadows and calls her name, his voice tight with hope as he searches the empty street. The system warns him that he might regret this choice, but he isn't ready to let her go. The tiny charm falls to the stone, leaving Haeyeon to ask the one thing she is terrified to know, holding on to the moment because walking away now feels like losing everything. Haeyeon looks back with tears on her face, unable to accept that she has to leave like this. Choi Do-yeon stands in the dim light of the alleyway, searching for a way to bridge the distance between them, reminding her of yesterday's promise about his place and urging her to stay because he still needs her help to catch the culprit, finally asking if she would like to come home with him. Ha Byung-tae stands outside the station, completely bewildered by the sudden turn. A small flicker of hope touches Haeyeon as she listens, but the uncertainty still hangs in the air between them. Haeyeon gives him the answer he was hoping for and agrees to go with him right then and there. Do-yeon had been dreading the walk away from her because he simply wasn't ready for their time together to end. They reach his apartment building as the low sun hits the old brick. Do-yeon warns her his place is small and messy, but she just tells him her own home is old too. She steps through the door with a polite greeting, her heart likely beating just as fast as his. As she takes in the kitchen, her worry fades, since the room is much cleaner than she expected. She turns back to him with a smile and tells him she's looking forward to this. This is the start of a very strange, very new life for both of them. The air feels heavy, thick with the silence that usually comes before a scream. Haeyeon can barely catch her breath. She wonders if she has any strength left to give. Beside her, Do-yeon is doing everything he can to help her hold on. He urges her to stay strong for just a little longer while she tries to fight back the panic. They grip the handle with every muscle strained, but then a violent blast throws her back, leaving Do-yeon shouting for her as the room explodes. Yeon can't hide her excitement over a small victory, though she admits to Choi Do-yeon that her strength still flickers out when she tries to lift anything solid, leading him to point out the usual limits of spirits who can barely move objects for more than a few seconds. Still, she insists on helping around the apartment anyway, and while Do-yeon appreciates the thought, a clumsy spill proves why they need to keep things careful, leaving her touched by his quiet patience as he tells her to just let him know whenever she needs anything. Standing as her only anchor in a world where no one else can see her, he offers his home as a place where she can finally stop carrying the weight of being alone. As Do-yeon tries to reassure her that they will figure out any inconveniences together, Haeyeon can only offer a quiet agreement before the realization hits her. They are basically talking about cohabitation. She watches him settle into the space with entirely new eyes, the weight of what living together actually means settling in all at once. Life shifts after the body is found, and Haeyeon stops returning to the highway, knowing she can walk around in the daylight without fear, while Do-yeon's father reaches out about visiting alongside Ha Byung-tae, pressing cash into Do-yeon's hand because he refuses to accept the help without paying something back. Breathing out the last of the tension, Choi Do-yeon finally catches a moment to rest, though checking his phone only brings up dead ends about the missing game and the deleted files. The financial strain hits harder than the ordeal itself, leaving him staring down a growing stack of bills and the looming trip back to the police station. Juggling rent and broadcasts leaves little room for sleep. The quiet catches him off guard. Eager to give her space, he grabs a blanket for the kitchen, but she insists on staying put before the lights go out. Choi Do-yeon tells her to rest, leaving Haeyeon amused by a quiet kindness. She stares at the door left slightly open. The comfort settles deep. Her mind drifts back to an ordinary afternoon, where her friends argued over relationships while she listened quietly from the center of it all. Sitting across from her friends at the cafe, Haeyeon brushes off their questions about her love life with a quiet excuse about being a bad match, leaving them stunned by her turning down someone so well off. But the reality of her days leaves no room for romance between long hours of study, relentless part-time shifts, and caring for her youngest sibling as he starts school. She wants to chase the things that make youth feel light, holding on to a secret list of simple dreams like traveling and dating, tucked safely away behind the counter of her convenience store job. Hyeon used to believe that hard work would lead to something great, but now that it's over, she feels like she wasted her time. A graduation album on the shelf reminds her of a life that ended too early. She moves closer to Choi Do-yeon while he sleeps, grateful he's the only one who can see her. She remembers a cafe trip where a friend asks what kind of man she prefers. She tells them she wants a nerdy guy, causing the whole table to stop and stare. Her ideal man was someone strong but gentle, a person who stays kind only to her. Her friends laughed and told her a guy like that was rarer than a unicorn. They were wrong. Do-yeon is the person she spent her whole life waiting to meet. He is the one they said she would never find, and as Hyeon watches him sleep, she knows she isn't alone anymore. Hyeon watches Choi Do-yeon resting beside her, caught off guard by how different he looks with his bangs pulled back, and whispers her thanks for everything he did when he saved her. But the quiet of the apartment only leaves room for her own heavy thoughts, pulling her deeper into the ache of feeling like nothing more than dead weight who can only take and never give back. She hates the helplessness of it, wishing she could find some ordinary way to pay him back for a debt she has no means to settle. Then a sudden movement breaks through her thoughts as Do-yeon shifts in his sleep, his arm sweeping out to catch her by the shoulder and pull her down against him, leaving Hyeon staring in absolute disbelief at how close he's pulled her. She whispers his name, asking if he's sleep-talking, her heart pounding as she tells herself she needs to pull away and get out of here before things get complicated. But before she can move, his hand tightens over her wrist with a quiet, desperate grip, and he murmurs a plea for her not to leave him behind. Only the name that slips past his lips isn't hers at all. The girl on the screen pours her heart out, admitting her feelings only get stronger no matter how hard she tries to ignore them. Do-yeon picks the right choice, and the game character leans in for the kiss he's been working toward. The screen confirms he won her heart and reached the special ending every player wants. But the victory doesn't make him smile. He sits in the dark and cries, caught in the emotion of the moment. The romance on the screen feels more real to him than anything in his own world. Do-yeon insists he isn't crying while the chat teases him for tearing up, and he explains that even a horror streamer needs variety to keep his content fresh. Our protagonist laughs off a donation about studying romance, but the game takes a turn as the heroine tells him she's seeing a new side of him tonight before asking what kind of student he used to be. The mood shifts when a photo of a girl named Kwon Hyojeong appears with her face scratched out in black ink. The student repeats the name with a look that says this isn't just part of the script. Whatever this memory is, it's heavy. Choi Do-yeon checks in with Hyeon, who teases him about crying during the stream, while he insists he was just yawning as he explains he still has hours of video editing ahead. He reflects on his independence in the quiet room, offering to step outside for fresh air, but she insists she is fine right where she is. Hyeon searches his face and asks if he'll really go with her, her voice trailing off as she shares a dream she's kept for a long time. She wants to see the night sea, the first item on a list of things she never finished, which makes Do-yeon look at her with a flicker of pity before suggesting a beach nearby to bridge the gap between his work and her wish. The system window interrupts with a list of compromises. He has to decide what he's willing to give for her sake. He's dating a ghost. Following the prompts has kept him alive so far, but he wonders if any of this is truly safe. Dating sims usually leave you trapped inside predefined paths, but Choi Do-yeon knows this world obeys a different set of rules entirely. When Hyeon notices his sudden absence of mind and asks what is wrong, he smooths it over with talk of travel plans, all while scanning the system options glowing in his hand. He tests the boundary, weighing the distance to the sea against something closer, before settling on a nearby reservoir as a safe middle ground. Choi Do-yeon freezes as the words leave his lips. He tries to take it back, but the damage is already done as Hyeon watches him in a silence that feels miles wide, until she catches her breath and forces a brave smile, agreeing to his plan because his comfort is more important than her own feelings. Hyeon leads the way into the quiet night, stopping to look out as she calls back with genuine wonder at the view. She admits this turned out better than she expected, and when Choi Do-yeon apologizes that it isn't the beach, she reassures him quickly, telling him just being here is enough while fretting over taking his time when he's busy. She suggests walking a bit further since they're already here, while Do-yeon glances at his phone screen where the game interface tracks her good mood, wondering how speaking off script happened and whether this is truly just a game. He looks out over the dark water, the quiet atmosphere carrying an uneasy weight, The question hangs in the quiet air of the boardwalk, where a lone frog rests under the dim glow of the pathlights, and Choi Do-yeon tells Ha-yeon he is 24, leaving her to wonder how to bridge the gap now that she remembers she was 22 when she died, wondering out loud what she used to do before she guesses she was a college student, which catches her completely off guard until she proudly reminds him she was a top scholarship student, prompting him to laugh it off nervously when she demands to know what he meant by that look. When Do-yeon lets slip just how pretty he finds her, Ha-yeon catches the moment and doesn't let it slide. She asks if he uses that innocent look on every girl he meets. He stumbles over his words, trying to explain that he was just being honest. Before he can recover, she leans in and asks if he held her last night. He panics. He blurts out a quick excuse about talking in his sleep. The reaction only gives her more ammunition, and he softly begs her to stop picking on him. Yet out on the quiet pier under the evening sky, neither of them wants to walk away. Choi Do-yeon finds an unexpected kind of peace, caught up in the moment with Ha-yeon under the open night sky. Standing there with his phone out, he finds himself reconsidering his earlier skepticism about downloading the game that brought them here. Choi Do-yeon finds himself trapped with a matching system that leaves no room to refuse, as Ha-yeon appears with murderous intent, leaving him staring in utter disbelief at the impossible sight before him. Summary: story_beats, key_beats, characters_introduced, characters_developed, power_moments, emotional_beats, system_events, character_map. Brown-haired man. Description: short brown hair, in this scene wearing a black zip-up hooded jacket over a white t-shirt, carries a large black umbrella, appeared_in_ panels. Creature. Description: lanky monstrous humanoid with dark skin and long stringy black hair, eyes glow red, appeared_in_ panels. Hi, Choi Do-yeon. Description: short dark brown hair, wearing a black zip-up hooded jacket over a dark shirt, a streamer investigating supernatural mysteries who is currently participating in a lethal dating game, appeared_in_ panels. Yuti. Description: viewer of Choi Do-yeon's stream, represented by a brown otter avatar, appeared_in_ panels. Ha, saggy. Description: black-haired man wearing a green sweatshirt, an acquaintance or fellow streamer Do-yeon is reminiscing about, appeared_in_ panels. Ha, mom. Description: unseen speaker on the phone, Choi Do-yeon's mother, sounding frantic and desperate to reach her son, appeared_in_ panels. Automated voice. Description: unseen speaker providing an automated telecommunications message, appeared_in_ panels. Hu Seung-jae. Description: mentioned as this young, a fellow streamer or friend Do-yeon is thinking about who finds strange games, appeared_in_ panels. Navigation system. Description: automated voice providing driving directions through the car's speakers, appeared_in_ panels. Injured girl. Description: young girl with long dark hair and a singular glowing red eye. Her face is mangled with exposed flesh. She appears as a vengeful, crawling spirit in this scene, appeared_in_ panels. System message. Description: text prompt appearing on Choi Do-yeon's smartphone screen or as a holographic interface, presenting narrative choices and information, appeared_in_ panels. Bystander. Description: man with brown hair, wearing a tan long stretched shirt and dark shorts, seen carrying a bag at the rest stop, appeared_in_ panels. The passerby. Description: middle-aged man with short gray hair and a gray jacket attempts to assist the injured protagonist, appeared_in_ panels. Hyun. Description: a young woman who alternates between a horrifying monstrous figure and a ghostly human form with long dark purple hair. In her human appearance, she wears a striped gray dress shirt and a black tie, aisle 2026, appeared_in_ panels. Resident. Description: middle-aged woman with short dark hair, wearing a pink quilted vest over a gray long-sleeved shirt, carries a woven basket, appeared_in_ panels. The driver. Description: short dark hair, wearing a gray t-shirt and dark cargo pants, seen in a flashback as the individual who struck Ha-yeon with a luxury car, appears panicked while making a phone call, appeared_in_ panels. The neighbors. Description: group of unnamed residents including a woman with a tote bag and two men, seen in Do-yeon's memory of his investigation, appeared_in_ panels. Ha Beonte. Description: middle-aged man with short dark hair, wearing a dark blue utility vest over a black jacket. Ha Yeon's father, who arrives at the scene frantic and breathless after being contacted by Doyeon. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha Sakyahung. Description: a contact name appearing on Choi Doyeon's vibrating smartphone screen. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Purple-haired woman. Description: long purple hair, wears a gray and white striped long-sleeve shirt with dark, blood-like stains on the shoulders, seen sitting in a dimly lit room with the brown-haired man. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha Yeon's father. Description: middle-aged man with short brown hair and glasses, wearing a white dress shirt and dark tie, appears in a memory with a stern, judgmental expression. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha Yeon's mother. Description: black hair in a bob cut, wearing a dark gray long-sleeve shirt and a purple apron over her waist, seen preparing a meal in a memory. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha Yeon's brother. Description: short dark brown hair, wearing a dark green zip-up jacket over a white shirt, a man who accompanies Beomtae and is desperate to believe Doyeon's claims about his sister. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Han Young Chio. Description: short wavy dark hair, wearing a dark gray jacket over a light gray shirt, a detective from the Violent Crimes Unit who carries a professional, slightly somber demeanor. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha police officer. Description: wearing a navy blue police uniform with a yellow high-visibility vest and a matching cap. Seen questioning witnesses at the crime scene. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha Yeon's sister. Description: mentioned in narration as someone who might visit with Beomtae, not yet visually confirmed in the present scene. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha, the friend in orange. Description: a young woman with short dark hair seen in a memory, wearing an orange long-sleeve shirt. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha, the brown-haired friend. Description: a young woman with long brown hair seen in a memory, wearing a light green top. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha, Baraka. Description: a viewer of Choi Doyeon's stream, identified by their red username in the chat interface. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha, Nakchiter Megi. Description: a viewer of Choi Doyeon's stream, identified by their blue username in the chat interface. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha, the student. Description: a female character within the cute girl dating simulation game. She has short dark purple hair and wears a dark school uniform with a red tie. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha, the game protagonist. Description: the male player character in the cute girl dating simulation game, depicted with short dark hair in a school uniform. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha, Kwon Hyojeong. Description: girl in a game photograph wears a gray school vest and blue skirt. Her face is entirely scribbled out with black ink. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Headless spirit. Description: a tall headless entity appearing in a memory or hallucination, wears a green and black striped long-sleeve shirt and khaki shorts. Body is covered in grime and bloodstains. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Pillar underscore panels. Visual underscore focus. Panel 0, top 0, bottom 100. Panel 5, top 18. Bottom 74. Panel 6, top 0, bottom 85. Panel 7, top 12, bottom 62. On the wooden bridge, Doyeon kneels and offers help to a shadow only he can see, while Ha Yeon watches him from a distance she can no longer bridge. She knew this moment would come, the quiet, inevitable end of their time together. She asks who he's talking to and if that dark mass is another spirit, but he doesn't look at her. The divide between them finally feels permanent. She's dead, and he's alive, a reality that lands as he picks up his burden and prepares to move on without her. As time went on, Ha Yeon felt herself fading, a ghost drifting through a world that no longer had a place for her. She was losing her grip on who she used to be. Every day felt like a slow crawl into the dark, where she only kept moving because she didn't know how to stop. But then she remembers the one person who finally saw her during those aimless nights. In the middle of a downpour, he reached out when the rest of the world was just passing by. It was such a small thing, a stranger offering an umbrella, but for her, it changed everything. Those brief moments with him were the only time she felt real again, even when she was just teasing him in a dimly lit room to see him get flustered. She was finally more than a shadow. She was someone who could be happy. For the first time, the weight she'd been carrying alone started to lift. It was just a small moment, But having him there made Ha-yeon feel like she finally had a place to lean. Ha-yeon stands alone in the dark, her heart heavy with a want she knows she shouldn't have. When the man finally speaks her name, it breaks her. The sound of it is more than she was ready to handle. She hadn't expected to see him standing there on the walkway, and his frantic relief catches her completely off guard. He grabs her shoulders, demanding to know where she went, and admitting he thought she was gone for good. His worry only deepens when he sees the tears, and as he asks if she's really okay, a small dark smile touches her lips. She always knew he was dangerous for her, and his kindness just proves it. Ha-yeon stands with him on the bridge at sunset and finally asks the question that's been hanging between them. Isn't he scared of her? Do-yeon blinks, caught off guard by the sudden weight of the moment. She asks if she was the one who should have been afraid, her voice breaking as the distance between them starts to feel like a wall. Ha-yeon spirals into the logic of why this can't work, reminding him that she's dead while he has a full life ahead of him. She refuses to let herself become a burden and insists she can handle being on her own, trying to give him an easy way out before things get harder. But he cuts through her panic by telling her he needs her, and the wall between them doesn't seem so tall anymore. Do-yeon admits he can't explain everything yet, but he makes it clear that he needs Ha-yeon if he's ever going to resolve the ghostly mess his life has become. He reaches out, offering a simple invitation to talk while they head back, and for a moment, the weight of his persistence seems to catch her off guard. Even if the ending to this story feels like it's already been written, right now, she chooses to bridge the distance and place her hand in his. Do-yeon wonders if wanting this peace to last makes him selfish, but as he walks beside Ha-yeon into the sunset, he decides he doesn't care. Even Yudi seems to cheer them on as they enjoy this one perfect minute together. Now the silence feels heavier, and Ha-yeon looks like she holds onto a secret she can't find the words to say. But Ha-yeon hesitates, remembering the terrifying shadow that loomed over her. She admits she is afraid too, and Do-yeon agrees that fear is only natural, confessing his own terror of the crawling head and the headless body left behind, and how much he dreaded losing her on the highway again. He asks if she knows how terrifying her disappearance was, realizing that simply seeing her safe beside him is the only thing that matters. Ha-yeon leans in and asks about the help Do-yeon mentioned earlier. She wants to be the person he trusts with the truth. Ha-yeon watches him with a smile that's a little too knowing, and when she asks what kind of help he needed earlier, Do-yeon finds himself stalling even as she promises to help with anything at all. He tells her they'll talk later as the images he's been running from catch up to him, full of the tape and the broken bodies that don't belong in a world as bright as hers. He knows that bringing her into this would be a mistake, but leaving someone to suffer in that kind of terror feels even worse when he can barely keep his own head above water. As Ha-yeon gently calls him out for losing himself in thought, she reminds our protagonist how kindness can turn into a weapon against oneself, pointing out how much he worries over someone who simply appeared out of nowhere. She tells him it is okay to protect his own peace and step away from what hurts, reminding him that taking care of himself is the one thing no one can argue with. Coming from someone whose warmth pulled her back from the edge, it sounds strange to offer advice back, but she urges him not to carry everything alone, telling him to run when things get too heavy and let his true feelings show. Behind the wheel, his hands tighten on the steering wheel, knowing there are still life points left to play, and even though it terrifies him, the thought of pulling someone else out of the dark makes the risk worth taking. Outside the apartment building, Do-yeon is left wondering if his luck will ever change when the landlady steps in to demand a steep rent increase. He panics at the sudden cost while Ha-yeon watches closely behind him, sensing the weight of his quiet desperation. The landlady corners him with nowhere else to go, forcing him to plead for a little more time until she finally offers a reluctant, temporary mercy. The landlady doesn't miss a chance to twist the knife, slamming the door on her way out to leave Do-yeon alone in the silence. He stands in the middle of a basement that just got a lot more expensive, the sting of her words hanging in the air. Desperate to fix things, Do-yeon starts applying for any editing work he can find. He puts on a bright professional voice on the phone, pitching himself for ad editing and promising a new portfolio. Ha-yeon watches him with soft, worried eyes as he hangs up, both of them holding on to a fragile hope. When Ha-yeon offers her own savings and her father's help, desperate to take the weight off his shoulders, he pushes the offer away with a quiet smile, insisting he has managed somehow until now. She watches him leave, sinking into the quiet ache of feeling entirely useless while he carries everything alone. He steps out into the rainy street, heading down to the local convenience store where a routine transaction offers a brief, numb escape from the things they cannot fix. Choi Do-yeon stands outside a convenience store under the rain, checking his phone as a banking notification pops up with his remaining balance. He bags his meager groceries, 3-cup noodles and a pack of instant rice, hoping at least that Ha-yeon won't have to worry about food. A glance at his mother's contact brings back a memory of standing outside a police station with her, and the crushing weight of her interference comes flooding back as he remembers begging her to leave Hyo-jeong alone. Doyeon pulls his umbrella down, knowing he can't ask for help now, especially with an extra police investigation tomorrow and a strange dating app interface waiting on his screen as he resolves to handle whatever comes next. In his stream chat, Woo Sung-jae blames Doyeon for their loss while viewers chime in with laughs and suggestions to switch to a horror game. Back at his desk, Doyeon insists the loss wasn't his fault when the enemy top laner had 10 kills, while Haeyeon watches the clock tick past 9 p.m., worrying over how little sleep he's had between editing and the upcoming broadcast. Brushing off the exhaustion, Doyeon reassures himself that he's smart and used to getting school scholarships, flashing a tired smile and blaming a bad condition for the poor play as the chat wonders if they should call it a night. Haeyeon slips through the dark apartment to watch Choi Doyeon, looking at the empty cup of noodles keeping him on his feet while she hates being a ghost. He's going to break down at this rate. If she could just reach through the veil, she would take care of him until the pan rattles and her shock hits. Haeyeon grips the handle of the frying pan and tries to summon enough focus to move it, but the metal just clatters against the burner. It's a cold reminder of how little she can touch in this world. She wonders if the weight is the problem, because even her best effort isn't enough to lift a simple kitchen tool as she wishes. If she were alive, she tells herself she could have done so much more for Doyeon. That regret is a trap she won't fall into, so she slaps her own face to force herself back to reality. Choi Doyeon sits in the dark room, staring at the chat screen while trying to explain that he has tried everything to find his missing friend, Sung-jae, but his messages go unanswered and his visits lead nowhere. A cold dread settles in as the chat whispers about a nearby body found in the mountain and news reports confirm the grim discovery. Sitting in the dim light of his room, Choi Doyeon watches the chat stream fill with ruthless comments from viewers like Namiya and Dongdong, who mock the bizarre ghost reports and brand them as murderers. Mayamiya adds to the mounting pressure, pointing out how little sense it makes to dig in such a remote, unusual spot. The headlines multiply, leaving him feeling completely isolated as the public turns hostile. He replays the hour-long police interrogation in his mind, wondering why none of these wild accusations came up while he was sitting across from the investigator. The panic spirals fast, bringing a crushing fear of wrongful charges and leaked personal data. Caught between his own breaking sanity and the terrifying weight of what is happening, he has to ask himself if anyone will ever believe the truth. Haeyeon breaks the quiet with a sharp call across the room, demanding Choi Doyeon turn around to see what she has managed to do inside the little dragon plush toy. Doyeon freezes, staring at the impossible sight as the stream chat lights up with questions about whether the doll just moved and whose voice they heard. Haeyeon tries to convince everyone she is just an ordinary toy, right before tumbling backward onto the floor. Doyeon lunges toward the camera in a desperate panic, shouting that an urgent matter has come up before cutting the stream dead. Manya looks at the mess she's made and asks what they're supposed to do now, her voice small as she apologizes while Doyeon just watches from his desk. She didn't mean for this to happen, but her plan to be useful went sideways the second she tried to help. Doyeon's shoulders shake. For a second, it looks like he might be angry, but then the tension snaps and a laugh breaks through. He scoops the plush dragon up and asks how this even happened. He can't get over how ridiculous she looks in this form. Manya freezes and watches him find a reason to smile in the middle of all this chaos. Seeing him laugh changes everything for her. He's the one carrying the heavier weight, yet he's still reaching out to make her feel better. Doyeon holds her close and admits he's been trapped in his own head for too long. He has a dependable ally right here, and for the first time in days, the fog in his mind starts to lift. As Choi Doyeon asks Manya for a consultation on a tricky problem, she reflects on how long it has been since she last asked anyone for help. The scene shifts back to a rainy night, where Haeyeon points out the pouring rain, but the brown-haired man insists on walking her home, deeply moved by his care, and plays along with the excuse that she does not want to get wet. Under the soft glow of the evening light, our protagonist finds himself caught off guard by her closeness, trying to mask his sudden fluster behind a tease about the ghost he's supposed to meet. High above the rainy city lights, until the subordinate mentions how he managed to track down a dead body by following a ghost's directions. Most people would laugh at a story about a flying doll, but this man listens with a dark focus. He presses for details and learns that everyone at the scene saw the impossible happen. He wonders if a woman turned into a ghost right in front of them. It's a haunting thought. He decides to reach out to the friend who saw it all because he has to know if the magic is real. A car moves down a wet highway at night, where Haeyeon looks over at Choi Doyeon, telling him that rainy car rides always bring back the memory of the day they first met, a time when she thought everything was just a distant dream because she had reached her absolute limit, finding comfort simply in being by his side. Choi Doyeon tells her not to push herself too hard, reflecting on the past few days and how lucky he feels that the first spirit he ever encountered was her, even though their start was cold and distant, leaving her to admit that she would feel completely empty without him now. Ha-yeon presses him on why he stayed quiet since earlier, wanting to know if the female ghost was pretty. But Choi Do-yeon, caught completely off guard by her teasing, blurts out the truth without thinking, that Ha-yeon is the prettiest person he's ever seen. He freezes the second it leaves his mouth, while Ha-yeon just sits there, failing to hide a smile as a system prompt flashes that her favorability has increased. She tells him she'll believe it, entirely delighted by how flustered he's become, while Do-yeon is left praying the crisis is over as he hopes that answer was good enough. Do-yeon watches the rainy road while he sifts through his options. He is glad that Ha-yeon is happy after their time together, even if he still has a lot to plan. He has decided to ask her father for help if things get worse. The game shop flickers in his mind with new items. His real focus stays on finding the person who took a life. His love points are almost at the limit. Time near Ha-yeon has been building his power, and once this date ends, he can unlock the magnifying glass to see the truth. He weighs the professional side of things too, since even a messy broadcast can turn into good attention if he plays his cards right. The car stops. The young man feels ready as he prepares for whatever comes next. Out in the rain, the young man grips the handle of his umbrella tightly. He tries to steady his own nerves, promising he can handle this, and she offers a quiet, reassuring smile that hides her own fear. Yeon acknowledges the heavy weight of his suffering, admitting even in the quiet dark that she hates the selfish hope pulling at her chest. She pushes past the doubt to urge him forward, finding a brave front for whatever waits in the rain. He hesitates under the stormy sky, leaving Choi Do-yeon alone with the sudden quiet as the midnight date system announces its cryptic rules into the dark. She steps forward alone into the shadows, bracing for whatever the game demands next. Standing in the rain, he recalls an online theory about ghosts, but he has to force himself to stay put because he knows he can't run away now. The girl he was supposed to date is standing there as a broken figure in the dark, and since talking is his only way out, he steps forward with a soft greeting and asks if she remembers him from yesterday. He just wanted to help her then, and despite how scary this has become, he still wants to help now. The midnight date begins out on the dark walkway, where Choi Do-yeon tries to keep a casual front, wondering why the system hasn't given him any options yet. He tries to steady his nerves, but the headless figure standing right beside him makes it hard to pretend everything is normal. He stares at the empty space where a face should be, wondering how anyone is supposed to talk like this. He waits for a sign, finally asking the absurd question out loud. The bloodied finger points toward a nightmare. Most people would run, but our protagonist stays put and waits for the girl to notice him in the downpour, calling out like they're old friends to ask if she remembers him and hopes for a chance to talk. The silence is heavy as he shifts his focus to her headless torso and asks her to hold the umbrella. When the girl tries to flee, he rushes after her to prove he's a good person who only wants to help. Do-yeon stands in the pouring rain, watching the small figure scramble away as if he were a threat. He came here to help her, yet she keeps her distance on the dark deck. He steps forward and asks if he made a mistake, wondering if he somehow hurt her feelings without even knowing it. He just wants to reach her, but she won't even stay in the same space long enough for him to try. The system window flickers to life, asking him how to handle her fear and offering a choice between pressure or kindness. He thinks she might just be shy, so he chooses the gentler path to keep her safe and hopes it's the right call. He just wants to be the kind of person she can trust. But a penalty warning flashes across the screen. The game just rewrote the rules on him, turning a kind choice into a mistake. Is he really being punished for trying to be gentle? 4 impossible options flash across the screen, each one worse than the last, pulling Choi Do-yeon right back into a past he thought he had buried. Panic spikes as he reads through the prompts, trapped by choices that feel wrong. With the clock ticking down and no room left to breathe, he knows ignoring the system isn't an option unless he wants to face a worse penalty, until he steps forward on the rain-soaked pier, forcing himself to pick the lesser evil just to get through the night. Out on the rain-soaked pier, Choi Do-yeon pulls her close under his umbrella, offering a grim ultimatum before she walks away. A dark prompt flickers across the system window, and a cold thrill runs through him as he decides to lean into the cruelty of it. On a rain-soaked pier under a single umbrella, Choi Do-yeon tests the system with a risky joke about keeping the torso for leverage, but as the creature's dark stare makes it clear the joke crossed the line, sudden panic takes over while swearing he only wanted to lighten the mood. Do-yeon stares at the screen. He had prepared himself for her to push him away, but the screen says she likes him more now. He reaches out to rest a hand on her shoulder. He has no idea what to say, so he just asks if she is all right. Standing under the steady downpour, Ha-yeon struggles to find her voice, looking toward the brown-haired man who watches her with deep concern. When she finally speaks, her words cut clean through the tension with a sharp insult that leaves him completely stunned. She turns away, choosing the cold rain over the space beside him as her thoughts drift toward Do-yeon, wondering how she is holding up out there. Out on the empty lakeside deck, the rain keeps falling into the dark water. Under the heavy rain on a lakeside deck at night, the injured blonde girl struggles to speak, her voice breaking through the dark. Our protagonist stares at her, completely overwhelmed by the sudden weight of the situation, wondering how things got so out of hand. When he tries to make sense of her words, she quietly reminds him of the condition he set earlier as the price for his help. Horror hits him all at once. He scrambles to take it back, insisting it was only a careless joke to ease the tension. He tries to steady his voice and restore calm, but she accepts her fate with a quiet resignation, convinced that kindness always comes with a price. Standing under the rain on the rooftop, the injured blonde girl asks Choi Doyeon to help her get out as Doyeon clutches his hand in frustration, wondering what kind of cruel game they have been dragged into while remembering the quiet desperation in Hayeon's expression, determined not to let another person suffer alone. He steps closer with an umbrella, promising he wants to help as much as he can. He asks what kind of sins could lead to such deep suffering, gently reaching out to ask what happened and why she had tried to avoid him when all he wanted was to understand. He reassures her that she only needs to share what she feels safe telling, but the weight of her secret presses down on her chest. She reaches a quiet breaking point, her hands trembling as she fights back the anxiety, finally confessing that she was terrified he would run away at the sight of what she had become, crawling around with just a head, admitting that even she finds it sickening, and knowing that if the one person who came for her turned and left, she would finally lose her mind for good. He saw her once and walked away, but tonight the rain is giving him a second chance. Doyeon stands in the storm. Trapped by the memory of the moment, he almost walked away, and his apology leaves Sien with a question she does not know how to ask. He brushes the slip away and claims he was talking to himself, but as the rain falls, he offers his name as a way to start over. She waits for a beat before she answers that she is Kang Sien. He promises there is no catch to his help, because he is not the kind of man who lies. Sometimes, the only thing a person needs to hear is that they aren't alone anymore. He knows exactly what she needs to hear right now. Sien wants to believe him, yet she still asks if she can really trust him, her voice sounding like a quiet plea for him not to let her down. He admits he isn't much of a hero, but he still gives his word as they stand together in the pouring rain. Kang Seon leans into him for support, completely overwhelmed by the gentleness she never expected to find. He holds her close, comforting her like a child, focused entirely on her pain. Under the dark night sky, he wipes her tears and apologizes softly for how hard it is to carry them alone, telling her it is his fault too. The rain falls harder, and he notices the way she is shivering, asking softly if the tape wrapping her is uncomfortable and offering to take it off. She admits she would appreciate the help, stumbling over her words as she confesses how suffocating it feels, while he stands close in the dark and starts working at the edge. Standing under the shelter of an umbrella on the walkway bridge, the brown-haired man finds the edge of the wrapping and stops dead, telling her awkwardly that the end sits too close to her chest, so they should probably just leave it alone, while Kang Seon stares back in sudden, flustered disbelief. She tells him quietly that if he is fine with it, then she is too, asking for his help because she cannot manage it by herself, so he pushes his own discomfort aside, deciding that hesitation right now would only make things worse, leaving the world behind them in silence as the rain keeps falling. Choi Doyan tells himself he has to try and remove it as carefully as possible, pushing every private feeling aside because the task demands a clear head. Ha-yeon stops at the edge of the pier in the rain, calling out when she sees them together, and the question hangs between them like a betrayal she never saw coming. A full year has passed since the incident without a single solid clue, leaving reporters having a field day and the pressure from above driving him crazy, though he reminds Choi Doyan that her lead is the only reason their team took the case in the first place, even if a noisy investigation like this is bound to cause headaches, especially with rumors that the first caller among the suspects should be excluded. He insists that innocent people shouldn't be blamed and that witnesses need to step up, catching Choi Doyan completely off guard when he claims with absolute certainty that someone else did it. He points out that the suspect's military alibi checked out with no leave or absence recorded, and the victim's story fits the evidence down to the last detail. Choi Doyan realizes this case is leading somewhere massive, asking if he remembers what was said about the floating doll, before turning his phone around to ask if this is the doll in question. And Isam listens while she explains the voice she heard was real. Their talk ends when a call says a head was found in a suitcase at the reservoir. The news leaves Doyan frozen as she tries to take in the horror of it. The stream about a ghost just turned into a murder case. Isam brings the group together to introduce Ha-yeon and Sion to her, letting Sion offer a shy hello while Ha-yeon follows with a polite greeting. Doyan watches them, wondering if her place by Isam's side is about to get much more crowded. Standing on the rain-slicked wooden deck, Choi Doyan feels the heavy weight of an awkward silence settling over the group, wondering how to break the tension while watching Kang Sion answer shyly that she is 21. When Siyun turns the question back, Doyeon admits he is 24, leaving Hayeon standing back and telling herself not to interfere with whatever Doyeon is trying to do, just as someone new steps quietly onto the scene. Out on the wooden walkway under the heavy rain, Choi Doyeon finds himself caught completely off guard when Hayeon steps in. Doyeon sweats under the sudden pressure, insisting defensively that he only wanted to help with the uncomfortable tape. But Hayeon decides to take control of the situation, stepping right up to Kang Siyun and offering to handle it herself. She grabs the edge and pulls roughly, drawing a sharp cry of pain from Siyun, who begs her to slow down while Hayeon pushes through to finish the job. Watching from the side with a quiet, knowing smile, Doyeon reflects on the surreal turn of events, wondering how ghosts managed to touch things so freely, and deciding that in the end, leaving Hayeon to take charge was probably for the best. Choi Doyeon finds himself questioning why she's back in his life, but the dating system has shifted the rules entirely, doubling his targets now that Kang Siyun has joined the fold while Hayeon handles the cleanup. A standard dating sim offers one clear path to the end, yet this world carries a heavier price because freeing spirits from their lingering regrets is the only way they find peace. He wonders what becomes of the ones left behind when the choices run out, seeking reassurance from Siyun, who accepts the quiet proposal with a soft thank you. Hayeon notices how pale Siyun looks, and as they trade shy compliments, Choi Doyeon hesitates before asking the one question he knows he shouldn't bring up yet. Standing under the shelter of the rainy outdoor clearing, Choi Do-yeon presses for answers about what happened, while Kang Seon apologizes for the burden, asking for just one final favor before she goes. Seon apologizes for the sudden request, but Do-yeon reassures her it is not far at all. Do-yeon confirms they are heading toward where Seon used to live, and when Ha-yeon asks if she is going to see her family, Seon quietly admits her grandmother has passed away. Everything she lost is still fresh in her mind, especially the house her grandmother left her. It was supposed to be a refuge, but she calls it the place where she died. Hayeon is stunned by the confession, but Seon just looks away, the memory already starting to pull her under. In her mind, she's back in that red-stained room where a man stands over her, blaming her for his own violence. He doesn't want her life, he just wants the password to her grandmother's bank account. Reality snaps back with a quiet refusal, and Seon tells them it's not a story she wants to talk about. She can't stop the shaking, so she reaches for any topic that might lead them somewhere safer. She asks how close the two of them really are, catching them both off guard until Do-yeon panics and blurts out that they eventually end up together. The system hits Do-yeon while he's still driving and forces him to confront a truth he isn't ready to name, demanding to know what they are to each other, while it warns that his response will rewrite how they feel about one another forever. As rain streaks the glass, he's left caught in a moment where one wrong word could break everything they have. She presents an ID to a clerk who only sees a stranger and asks if she's really that girl, the doubt landing with a sting she wasn't prepared for. She slams her hand on the counter and shouts her name, but the man just looks at her with pity and tells her he can't sell to her. She points to a mole on her cheek, begging him to recognize the person hidden under the weight she's gained, but it's no use. She storms out into the rain with her pride in pieces, her mind a blur of anger as she wonders why the truth isn't enough to make people believe her. She walks alone through the night and wonders if the person she used to be is gone for good. The system screen flashes a question that stops Choi Do-yeon's heart. What are they to each other? It's an open box that waits for a truth he isn't ready to name, and he asks himself what he's supposed to do now. He can't believe the game is being this serious. Usually, it punishes him for straying from its script, but now it's handing him the wheel and asks for his own thoughts. A timer starts counting down and ticks away the seconds he has left to decide. He tries to steady his breathing as he knows this answer will change how both girls feel about him. There's no perfect choice here, because someone is going to get hurt, so he's running through every word he could say. He opens his mouth, but the words catch in his throat. Beside him, Ha-yeon tells him he doesn't have to worry about her. She tries to make it easy for him even though her own feelings are on the line, and he wonders if he should play it safe to keep things calm. Do-yeon drives through the pouring rain and makes a silent choice. To him, these people aren't just lines of code or game characters. He's the only one who can see their world. Even if he's afraid of losing his connection to them, he refuses to treat their lives like a simple quest. He's wanted to help because he truly cared from the very start. He knows honesty is the only way to show them real respect. Do-yeon sits in the car with Seon and admits he isn't even sure what to call their relationship. He just knows he likes being around them both. After years of streaming alone in an empty room, he had forgotten what it felt like to have someone by his side. Ha-yeon listens as the words land. The young man knows he might not seem like the most reliable person, but he looks at both Ha-yeon and Seon and promises to do his absolute best for them. He won't let them go through this alone. Choi Doyan hopes that sharing the pain will make it easier to carry, though he braces himself for how they might take it. When he voices the thought out loud, Ha-yeon teases him for being surprisingly smooth, before catching him off guard by asking about his last relationship and a girl named Kwon Hae-jeon, whom he murmured in his sleep. Panicking, Doyeon stammers that she was just someone he liked briefly, prompting Ha-yeon to demand every detail right as her panic over his distracted driving boils over into a frantic warning about a crashes. Meanwhile, Kang Seon watches the banter with quiet amusement, finding a strange peace in the chaos. Ha-yeon whispers about how lucky things are as she reaches the end, while Choi Doyan stays locked on the rainy road ahead, wondering what might have changed if they had crossed paths sooner. The system flashes as affinity levels climb for both Ha-yeon and Kang Seon, and once they finally reach safety, Ha-yeon thanks Doyan for carrying them this far, though the relief turns heavy when Seon asks if the person responsible has finally been caught. Ha-yeon tries to bridge the heavy silence as Doyan watches them in the mirror and notes how well they've started to lean on each other. He focuses on the rainy road ahead. He can still feel the distance Seon keeps from her past. He remembers her fear that her story would make him run, and he knows he can't protect her from a ghost he doesn't understand. He finally breaks the quiet and asks what happened because the wall around her heart needs to come down. Sitting in the car with Choi Doyan, Kang Seon tries to calm the tension. Doyan stares at her in absolute disbelief. It all goes back to the day an old friend reached out, asking to stay for a few days after being kicked out of her house. Unable to turn her away, Seon took her in, giving her the empty room until she could find a place of her own, when things still felt normal. After Seon lost her family, the silence in her home was enough to swallow her, but then an old friend moved in to share the quiet comfort she thought was gone for good. For a while it was enough, but that warmth didn't stay as the days stretched into months, and every small thing the girl did felt like she was trying to take over. Eventually, the mask finally slipped. Seon looked at her and saw nothing but a bank account built on a family tragedy. If death was the only thing that bought this kind of comfort, she wondered why her own father and grandfather were still drawing breath. It started as a fight over words, the kind of heat that ruins years of friendship in a single night. Seon reached her limit and told her friend she had to leave, or the police would handle it. As she sits in the car, she still carries the bruises from that night. The physical pain is nothing compared to what happened next. She hesitates for a second because the next part is where everything broke. As she pulled out her phone to make the call, the person she trusted most turned into a stranger. The betrayal landed before she could even dial. Kang Seon relives the terror of the bathroom floor, left tied up and abandoned after giving up every password he owned. When he finally regained consciousness, his head was drifting in the dark water of the reservoir. He couldn't do anything as he floated there, until a distant passerby walking the trail discovered his body below the bridge. Sitting in the car, Choi Do-yeon pieces it together, that he had died and somehow come back. Ha-yeon recounts the grim details of her murder, explaining how her dismembered body was dumped into the reservoir and how she slowly grew used to existing as a floating head. But no matter how hard she tried to escape, every time she woke up, she was trapped right back in the cold water. Despair settled in until Do-yeon finally appeared before her. She admits she was happy, yet terrified that Do-yeon would run away from what she had become. In the front seat, Kang Seon pleads desperately for protection, promising to give Do-yeon anything she wants once they make it home safely. Breaking down in tears, Seon begs not to be left behind in the dark, while Do-yeon absorbs the heavy, unsettling weight of the choice before him. The rain drums against the windshield as Choi Do-yeon carries the heavy silence of what Seon has been carrying alone, knowing he has to step in. Ha-yeon reminds him of the promise he made to help, grounding him in the quiet urgency of the drive. He offers a reassuring word to Kang Seon, telling her he asks for nothing back except her peace and a way out of this misery. As the rain beats down on the quiet apartment complex, Kim Isum offers a quiet way out, leaving Kang Seon to accept what comes next with a soft, resigned nod. She knows she doesn't belong among the living anymore, yet she holds on to him anyway, clinging to the warmth of a world she has already left behind as she thinks of the cold rain she never wanted to face in death. While she lingers on one last selfish wish for comfort, before a finger presses firmly against the intercom buzzer. A doorbell chime echoes through the dark apartment. Ha-yeon finds the place empty and notes that no one is home. Seon had asked him to punch in her door code just once while they stood in the rain. He waits in the hallway now and tells himself it should be fine to go inside. Choi Do-yeon stands in the hallway and stares at the woman who just opened the door. He asks who she is. This was supposed to be Kang Seon's apartment, and a system warning flashes that Seon's mind is already starting to shake. The stranger watches him from under her umbrella. She's waiting for a reason to either trust him or drive him away. Do-yeon's heart races as he tries to make the facts fit. He knows he has the right floor, so if she's the owner, then Seon is just gone. He forces a smile and apologizes to lower the tension. He asks if he simply got the house wrong, but his gut tells him something is wrong. Standing in the dim apartment hallway, Kang Seun confronts the intruders, demanding to know why Choi Doyeon is forcing his way through their door lock without permission. Doyeon stares in complete bewilderment as he tries to reconcile the face before him with the memories of what happened. He demands to know how she can shamelessly stay in this house after everything, while the memory of her grandmother comforting a younger Seun lingers in the quiet air. Her grandmother had whispered apologies for her failing health, leaving behind only a smiling memorial portrait and an unbearable silence. With her grandmother gone, the one person who loved her without condition, Seun clutches the black fabric of her funeral attire, completely shattered by the weight of her loss. At the funeral hall, an angry relative confronts Kang Seun about money, demanding to know where her parents' scammed funds went, while his wife tells him to calm down because she doesn't know anything. Misfortune arrives in a phone call, leaving our protagonist staring at her phone in disbelief as an automated voice asks about a loan from dad. The legal trap closes in with a harsh warning. Unless she renounces the inheritance within 3 months, she inherits everything, including the debt. But the trap has already snapped shut because using the deceased funds counts as consent to inherit. Left with no way out, she breaks down completely under the weight of the debt. When she finds the envelope on the floor, she opens the letter and reads words that hurt more than any silence could. Her grandmother says she is sorry for her son's mistakes and the hard times Seun had to face alone. This wasn't a gift from hidden wealth, but money from scrubbing floors for a wedding her grandmother would never see. She looks at the bank book where tiny deposits show the work of a woman who never stopped worrying, and the house finally feels too quiet. The rooms are just empty now. She is all alone. These walls were built on a love that never asked for anything back, so she picks up her pen and vows to make every day count for the woman who gave her everything. Kang Seun stands frozen in her own home. Doyeon watches her flinch and wants to help, but he can only try to piece together a story with a missing chapter as she holds her phone like a shield and calls the police before he can explain. Then the room shifts, and he sees a ghostly version of her that looks him in the eye and asks if he feels any guilt for what he's done. Haeyeon confronts him with what she was willing to forgive, but Choi Doyeon can only stare in mounting dread as she begs him to run away before he gets too close, leaving him staring down at the screen as the system flashes warnings of a mind falling apart. He stares at the phone, overwhelmed by the chaos on screen, wondering if this is the friend Kang Seun talked about earlier. As Seun walks away into the dark, Kang Seun freezes, the glowing screen reflecting a truth too heavy to take in, and lets herself drift backward into the open air of the rooftop. Choi Doyeon lunges forward, hands clawing at the empty space where she stood. She screams her name into the pouring rain, a desperate bid to reverse a tragedy already in motion, while Seun looks back with a hollow, vacant stare, leaving Doyeon stranded in the sudden, shattering silence. Kang Seun looks down from above. Haeyeon stops on the street below, phone in hand, just in time to witness the terminal fall and hear the final cry echo through the dark. Kim Isam reaches out with a promise that he won't ever leave her side, but the words only trigger a break that turns her love into a jagged obsession. He has to get away. He pounds on the door, desperate to outrun the news of the death, until a single name stops him cold. Cornered in the dark alley, the brown-haired man freezes as Haeyeon steps close behind him, demanding to know why he keeps running away while a quiet, terrifying resentment hangs between them. Kim Isam is running for his life when the pursuit finally corners him, leaving Haeyeon to ask why he's running with an unsettlingly calm smile. He is completely trapped against the wall, with nowhere left to go. Choi Doyeon realizes he is the one taking the fall, wishing he had known the full truth sooner, while Haeyeon finds a quiet, dark amusement in his fear, telling him that even if the space is small, it is enough for the two of them. The creature leans in close with unsettling intimacy, proposing a twisted life together while brushing past anyone else, leaving him frozen in stark terror. Panic takes over as he imagines the police arriving to label him a murderer, until resignation sets in because he knows running away is no longer an option, leaving him to listen as the authorities finally arrive. The rain is washing nothing away tonight. The medics shout for IVs and prepare for the worst, but Kim Isam knows the world will call him a murderer, and he has no strength left to run. A spirit watches him from the dark with the same shattered hope that fills his own chest. Every move he made feels like a wrong turn, and he thinks of the many moments where he could have stopped this if he had just trusted her instead of letting his panic take over. He tried to reach for someone far beyond his life. The world is closing in now as the police move to seal the exits. Memories of his own cruelty remind him of how he used to compare her to other girls, and now he is left with the ghost of the girl he broke, staring at a face he can never fix. It is the only part of her he has left to hold. The brown-haired man stands in the dark hallway, his black zip-up jacket pulled tight, mocking the past with a cruel, twisting grin that leaves no room for anything soft. Across from him stands Haiyan, a ghostly figure with long dark hair and a heavily scarred, mangled face, her hollow eyes fixed on the man whose demeanor has turned so sharply against everything she once knew. Choi Doyan freezes, every instinct screaming to run as sudden paralyzing fear takes hold. Choi Doyan is crushed by a paralyzing regret, wondering why everyone keeps betraying him, and as total despair pulls him under, a menacing creature manifests his internal agony. Haiyan shows unexpected, silent concern, while Doyan wishes he could have saved her before everything fell apart, wondering if she is truly worried about him now, until a gentle presence reaches him, leaving him to whisper an apology. Leaving Choi Doyan standing alone in the quiet, his hand trembling against the cold door handle. He blurts out her name, but before he can process what he's seeing, Kang Seun appears right in front of him with Haiyan just behind her, asking softly if something is wrong because he looks like he's seen a ghost. Caught in the raw, aching relief of finding them safe, Choi Doyan lets out a breath and pulls both Kang Seun and Haiyan into a tight, impulsive embrace. Taken completely off guard, Haiyan stumbles back in a flurry of nervous panic, while Choi Doyan realizes a second too late how close they are standing. But the fragile quiet of the dark hallway shatters as an unfamiliar voice cuts through the shadows, demanding to know who they are. The hallway grows quiet, Choi Do-yeon caught completely off guard by the interruption as Kim Yoon-kyung steps into view, demanding to know why someone is standing outside a stranger's door and asking them to move, while Kang Si-yoon freezes entirely. Facing the sudden stranger, Choi Do-yeon asks for her name, and as Kang Si-yoon struggles for words, Choi Do-yeon murmurs Kim Yoon-kyung's name out loud, asking if she would trust her with this heavy burden. With a quiet, steady look, Choi Do-yeon promises to try and fix everything. Kang Si-yoon decides she's done running from what happened, standing face to face with her own death while Ha-yeon watches her silently from behind. She tells herself she must stay strong, while outside in the pouring rain, Kim Yoon-kyung panics as Choi Do-yeon steps close to ask her questions. Terrified and clutching her umbrella like a weapon, Yoon-kyung calls for help, begging the police to hurry and save her from the strange person blocking her door. Si-yeon steels herself for what comes next, as Do-yeon records every word on a phone. Choi Do-yeon drops the accusation straight into the dark, asking where she buried Si-yeon after killing her, and the question hits Kim Yoon-kyung like a physical blow. Her hand tightens around the umbrella, denying it with desperate anger, insisting she is Si-yeon and that she just gained weight. Do-yeon remembers a video he once watched about a woman who faked her own death to live under a stolen identity, and the pieces finally clicked together. The weight of a secret can only stay hidden for so long before it breaks, and when Do-yeon catches up to her in the hallway, he asks if she plans to live a lie forever because he can't understand how she thought she wouldn't get caught. She reacts with a wall of anger, accusing him of checking her delivery boxes just to find a way to threaten her. Do-yeon doesn't blink. He knows she isn't the woman she claims to be, and he tells her that if she has any heart left, she needs to stop. Choi Do-yeon stands right there, watching the trap close around him as the framing becomes clear. Summary. Story_beats. Characters _introduced. Characters _developed. Power_moments. Emotional _beats. System_events. Character_map. Brown-haired man. Description. Short brown hair, wearing a black zip-up hooded jacket over a white t-shirt. The person who befriended Ha-yeon in the past carries a large black umbrella. Appeared _in panels. Creature. Description. Lanky, monstrous humanoid with dark skin and long, stringy black hair. Eyes glow red. Appeared in panels. Choi Do-yeon. Description. Short, dark brown hair, wearing a black zip-up hooded jacket over a dark shirt. A streamer investigating supernatural mysteries who is currently participating in a lethal dating game. Appeared in panels. Yuti. Description. Viewer of Choi Do-yeon's stream, represented by a brown otter avatar, appeared in panels. Hazagi. Description. Black-haired man wearing a green sweatshirt an acquaintance or fellow streamer Do-yeon is reminiscing about. Appeared in panels. Mom. Description. Unseen speaker on the phone, Choi Do-yeon's mother, sounding frantic and desperate to reach her son. Appeared in panels. Automated voice. Description. Unseen speaker providing an automated telecommunications message. Appeared in panels. Woo-seung-jae. Description. Mentioned as This Young, a fellow streamer or friend of Do-yeon who participates in his stream chat under the username Woo-seung-jae. Appeared in panels. Navigation system. Description. Automated voice providing driving directions through the car's speakers. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Injured girl. Description. Young girl with long dark hair and a singular glowing red eye. Her face is mangled with exposed flesh. She appears as a vengeful, crawling spirit in this scene. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Stem message. Description. Text prompt appearing on Choi Doyan's smartphone screen or as a holographic interface presenting narrative choices and information. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Bystander. Description. Man with brown hair, wearing a tan long stretched shirt and dark shorts, seen carrying a bag at the rest stop. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. The passerby. Description. Middle-aged man with short gray hair and a gray jacket attempts to assist the injured protagonist. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha Yeon. Description. A young woman who alternates between a horrifying monstrous figure and a ghostly human form with long dark purple hair. In her human appearance, she wears a striped gray dress shirt and a black tie, code 2026. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. High resident. Description. Middle-aged woman with short dark hair, wearing a pink quilted vest over a gray long-sleeve shirt, carries a woven basket. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Hi, the driver. Description. Short dark hair, wearing a gray t-shirt and dark cargo pants, seen in a flashback as the individual who struck Ha Yeon with a luxury car, appears panicked while making a phone call. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Hi, the neighbors. Description. Group of unnamed residents including a woman with a tote bag and two men, seen in Doyan's memory of his investigation. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha Byung-tae. Description. Middle-aged man with short dark hair, wearing a dark blue utility vest over a black jacket. Ha Yeon's father who arrives at the scene frantic and breathless after being contacted by Doyan. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Hai Saki-hang. Description. A contact name appearing on Choi Doyan's vibrating smartphone screen. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Purple-haired woman. Description. Long purple hair, wears a gray and white striped long-sleeve shirt with dark, blood-like stains on the shoulders, seen sitting in a dimly lit room with the brown-haired man. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha Yeon's father. Description. Middle-aged man with short brown hair and glasses, wearing a white dress shirt and dark tie, appears in a memory with a stern, judgmental expression. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha Yeon's mother. Description. Black hair in a bob cut, wearing a dark gray long-sleeve shirt and a purple apron over her waist, seen preparing a meal in a memory. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha Yeon's brother. Description. Short, dark brown hair, wearing a dark green zip-up jacket over a white shirt. A man who accompanies Byung-tae and is desperate to believe Doyan's claims about his sister. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Han Young-chio. Description. Short, wavy dark hair, wearing a dark gray jacket over a light gray shirt, a detective from the Violent Crimes Unit who carries a professional, slightly somber demeanor. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Police officer. Description. Wearing a navy blue police uniform with a yellow high-visibility vest and a matching cap, seen questioning witnesses at the crime scene. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Ha Yeon's sister. Description. Mentioned in narration as someone who might visit with Byung-tae, not yet visually confirmed in the present scene. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. The friend in orange. Description. A young woman with short dark hair seen in a memory, wearing an orange long-sleeve shirt. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. The brown-haired friend. Description. A young woman with long brown hair seen in a memory, wearing a light green top. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Baraka. Description. A viewer of Choi Doyan's stream, identified by their red username in the chat interface. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Nakchitur Megi. Description. A viewer of Choi Doyan's stream, identified by their blue username in the chat interface. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. The student. Description. A female character within the cute girl dating simulation game. She has short dark purple hair and wears a dark school uniform with a red tie. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. The game protagonist. Description. The male player character in the cute girl dating simulation game depicted with short dark hair and a school uniform. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Kwon Haijiang. Description. Girl in a game photograph wears a gray school vest and blue skirt. Her face is entirely scribbled out with black ink. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Headless spirit. Description. A tall, headless entity appearing in a memory or hallucination, wears a green and black striped long-sleeve shirt and khaki shorts. Body is covered in grime and bloodstains. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. The black something. Description. A shadowy, indistinct mass or entity that Doyan is interacting with, which Haiyan observes as something separate from herself. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Landlady. Description. A middle-aged woman with a short, feathered light brown bob, wears a purple and navy blue patterned dress, and carries a small black handbag, the stern owner of Choi Doyan's apartment. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Shopkeeper. Description. A man working behind a convenience store counter wearing a blue and white uniform vest. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. A policewoman. Description. A woman with short, straight dark hair, wears a white dress shirt under a dark blue police utility vest, seen in a flashback standing near a police cruiser. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Stream viewers. Description. A collective of viewers in Choi Doyan's stream chat, including users such as Ro, Hongjang, and Bari Bari Man. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Halam. Mom. Description. A viewer in Choi Doyan's stream chat who asks about Sung Jae. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Daomong. Description. A viewer in Choi Doyan's stream chat who shares news of a discovered corpse. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Namiya. Description. A viewer in Choi Doyan's stream chat who expresses concern about kidnappings. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Kim Ji-jung. Description. A viewer in Choi Doyan's stream chat who mentions rumors of a ghost reporting a crime. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Dong. Description. A viewer in Choi Doyan's stream chat who mocks the ghost report. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Mayamiya. Description. A viewer in Choi Doyan's stream chat who questions the location of the body's discovery. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. The policeman. Description. A man with short black hair and glasses, wearing a white dress shirt and tie, seen questioning Doyan at a precinct. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Hamanya. Description. A yellow dragon plush toy with tiny wings and horns, the physical vessel for Ha-yeon's spirit, currently feeling regretful for her clumsy actions. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Executive. Description. Short dark hair, white dress shirt, red boxers, wealthy man in a high-rise apartment. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Subordinate. Description. Short black hair, dark suit and tie, providing reports on Choi Doyan. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Midnight date system. Description. A pink digital notification window that provides game instructions, narrative context, and player options. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Injured blonde girl. Description. Short blonde bob-cut hair, wears a green and white tube top with dark wraps. Her neck and shoulders are heavily bruised and bloodied. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Kang Seon. Description. Short blonde hair, now wearing a white patterned camisole, seen in the passenger seat of the car, distraught and tearfully pleading for help, also seen wearing a gray hoodie and black skirt. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Junior detective. Description. Short, dark hair, wearing a dark gray hoodie, a young officer working under Han Young-cheol at the police station. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Kim Isum. Description. Short brown hair, wearing a black zip-up jacket, previously identified as brown-haired man, an investigator working alongside Doyan, who just received a report about a new victim. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. He, the assailant. Description. A man with short dark hair and a malicious, greed-driven expression, seen in a red-tinted flashback demanding money from Siyun. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. Grandmother. Description. An elderly woman with gray hair tied back, seen in a warm flashback sitting at a table with Siyun. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. A clerk. Description. A convenience store worker with dark hair and a face mask, skeptical of Siyun's identity. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. A hold friend. Description. Short dark brown hair bob, seen in flashbacks with a bruised face. She is the friend who moved in with Siyun, initially providing comfort but eventually becoming the target of Siyun's predatory research 2026. Appeared underscore in underscore panels. The man in the bathroom. Description: a terrified man with brown hair and a sweating face, seen in a flashback being extorted. Appeared in panels. A passerby. Description: a distant figure standing on a wooden bridge discovered a body in the reservoir. Appeared in panels. Short-haired woman. Description: short blonde hair, wearing a gray hoodie and black skirt, the current occupant of the apartment who confronts Choi Do-yeon with an umbrella. Appeared in panels. Angry relative. Description: short dark hair, wearing a gray suit jacket, an aggressive man who harasses Siyun at the funeral regarding money. Appeared in panels. His wife. Description: long dark hair, wearing a black dress. Accompanies the angry relative and attempts to restrain his outburst. Appeared in panels. The medics. Description: emergency responders in raincoats and vests tending to a victim on a red stretcher in the rain. Appeared in panels. The officers. Description: police in blue uniforms and neon safety vests running through the parking lot with radios. Appeared in panels. A stranger. Description: only shown as a close-up of a mouth, interrupts the group to ask for their identity. Appeared in panels. Kim Yoon-kyung. Description: short light brown hair, wearing a dark gray hoodie and a black skirt. The friend Kang Si-yoon mentioned, who appears in the hallway wanting to enter her home. Appeared in panels. The gamer. Description: short dark hair, white t-shirt, wearing a gaming headset, appears in a close-up looking stressed while staring at a screen. Appeared in panels. Filler panels. Visual focus. Kim Isam begins to unravel under the pressure, shouting frantic denials at the neighbors watching from their balconies, but his words sound hollow in the rain. Behind him, Ha-yeon checks her screen and sees a warning that the situation is about to turn violent, while Siyun stands frozen beside a woman whose quiet anger is becoming impossible to ignore. Do-yeon watches the shift and realizes they're running out of time before this escalates into something they can't take back. Kim Isam is caught in the middle of a nightmare. The claim leaves Kang Si-yoon frozen with a terror she can't hide, while Ha-yeon stands right behind her, looking as calm and untouched by the words as she is by the rain. Isam is pleading for someone to see the truth, but against Ha-yeon's steady presence, he just sounds like a man who's lost his mind. Kim Isam has reached the end of his rope. He stands in the middle of a dark hallway and begs everyone who passes him for a lead. He shouts Si-yoon's name until his voice starts to crack. He pleads with the crowd to look at her face and see if they recognize her at all. He doesn't need a miracle, only a name or a place to show that someone else remembers she is real. But while the police officer stays close, the neighbors just keep walking and leave him shouting into the empty air. The air in the hallway turns cold the moment the truth lands. The woman standing in front of them is not Si-yoon. Even the neighbor starts to see Si-yoon in a new light, figuring that if the rumors are true, then the girl has done something awful. She tells the police that Si-yoon lived with her boyfriend for years and that the walls were thin enough to hear every single argument. Yoon-kyung starts to shake as her lies finally reach their breaking point. She screams that the old woman is senile, but as the police try to hold her back, her panic only gets louder. She demands they stop treating her like a murderer and arrest the real criminal instead. Then, Do-yeon moves. He shuts her down with a single sharp slap across the face. The silence that follows is the loudest thing in the building. Si-yoon looks up, and the name of the man who just tried to save her is barely more than a whisper. Do-yeon. Before he can even say a word back, the police arrive and tear the moment apart, pinning him as a suspect while he just stands there and accepts it. He lets them take him because he knows how this story has to end. If he's the criminal, then Si-yoon is the victim, and she is the only person the law will actually listen to right now. He gestures toward her, forcing the officer to look at the damage instead of the man who stopped it. He asks them to check her identity as a witness one more time. He's stepping into a trap to keep her safe. Choi Do-yeon tries to keep the mood light while they wait out their hold in the station, but Kang Si-yoon can only look at him, admitting to the quiet safety she finds just sitting beside him. The blinding hatred she carried for so long started to fade the moment he chose to believe her and got angry on her behalf, leaving her to apologize softly for dragging him into her mess. Si-yoon won't hear it and insists he's done more than enough, but he stays locked on the one promise he didn't keep. He was supposed to take her home. They sit together on the cold floor of the holding cell as he tries to laugh about how they ended up here instead. The humor fades and he looks at her like he means every word, making his next promise feel like it's already done. He tells her that once this is over, he's coming for her tonight. The promise lands and the fear she's been carrying starts to let go. She gives him a soft smile and agrees, because she wants to believe he will come back. Their hands sit just inches apart as she whispers a wish that they had found each other long before all of this started. She leans in and lets her head drop onto his shoulder. Caught completely off guard by the unexpected touch, Kang Sien freezes, letting out a quiet thought she hasn't dared to voice in years. How long has it been since she let herself lean on someone like this, asking just to be selfish for a little longer? The quiet of the police station settles around them as the light shifts toward dawn, the office clock ticking silently on the wall while she whispers an apology to Haiyan, begging to borrow just a few more hours before sunrise breaks the illusion. She holds on tighter, terrified that if she opens her eyes, this fragile piece will turn out to have been nothing more than a dream. Kang Sien admits the quiet terror of what she's falling into, holding on to him as if the safety of his jacket can freeze time. She's terrified that this care has an expiration date, and Choi Doyeon feels the weight of it, promising that even when life pulls them apart, he will always find his way back to her. He tries to laugh off the tension, teasing her with the fear that she might just slip away or decide she hates him after all, but she sees right through the joke, telling him softly that she isn't going anywhere. Isam is stuck in a jail cell, but he isn't alone. His world just turned into a game. Every heartbeat counts, and the police aren't the ones in control anymore. The quiet snaps when a chime echoes through the room. A familiar glow appears in his hands, showing a screen that shouldn't even exist right now. He stares at the phone the police took from him earlier, trying to make sense of a system that tells him his rank is C, even as his heart hammers against his ribs. It's a cruel game. He's earned points and a death penalty at the same time. Then the real news lands. Her affection for him has spiked, and for a second, the cell doesn't feel so small. Sitting alone in the quiet gloom of the station holding cell, Kim Isum asks himself why everything has turned to ash. The sudden vibration of his phone breaks the silence, flashing an incoming call from a deleted contact with a string of zeros. In the cold quiet of the jail cell, Kim Isum freezes, his phone pressed to his ear as he grasps for any anchor left in the wreckage, wondering if he's losing his mind until a voice cuts through the dark. Far away on a rainy rooftop, the older associate he trusted calls to confess his betrayal, begging for forgiveness as he admits he had no other choice if he wanted to live, leaving Isum stranded with the truth of who sold him out. The world is closing in, and he only has one last thing to say before the line goes dead. He tells the person on the other end to listen because there isn't much time left. This is the last call he will ever make. He looks down from the edge of the rooftop at the wet ground below, a drop that feels like the only way out of a life that took everything and gave nothing back. The rain washes over him, but it can't hide his tears while his heart finally breaks under the weight of a kindness that was never returned. His final advice is a bitter warning to never be good to people like them. Hayeon tries to soothe the hostile dog with a trembling smile, asking if it's a good dog, but the rain-soaked terrier only snarls back with low, fierce hostility. Hayeon finds her path blocked by an aggressive little dog, pleading to just catch her bus and promising she is not a harmful spirit. Filler. The dog's owner struggles to restrain her frantic pet under an umbrella, apologizing while Hayeon waits patiently for the way to clear. Watching the animal's reaction, Hayeon wonders if the old saying about white dogs seeing spirits might actually be true. Filler. Hayeon stares into the rain with a sudden start, calling out before she can stop herself, desperate to catch the bus after waiting an hour in the cold street. Left behind on the empty pavement, she feels the full, heavy weight of being out here without Doyeon. The quiet ache of believing she is someone no one is ever glad to see. Standing alone in the gray drizzle, she replays the memory of him smiling through his own exhaustion, telling her that she was the reason he could laugh, and she holds on to that old warmth because letting go feels like losing the last piece of herself. Trapped in a jail cell with a phone pressed to his ear, Kim Isum listens in disbelief as an urgent warning cuts through the static. Told straight that keeping ghosts close is a dangerous game, and that the longer it goes on, the more those spirits will lean on him for survival. He stares at the phone as the line goes dead, left alone with the chilling question of what happens when their affection starts to slip, until a guard interrupts his thoughts to announce that the investigator has finally arrived, pulling him heavily back to the harsh reality of his custody. Kim Isum clutches his phone, asking to use the restroom quickly, but finds himself standing outside an empty hallway. The line rings without an answer, frustration setting in as the silence stretches. Panic starts to take over his thoughts, forcing a sudden, desperate composure until he questions what kind of cruel game is really being played with people's lives. Under the heavy weight of the interrogation, Choi Doyeon feels the pressure mounting, until a junior detective suddenly calls his name from the doorway. Looking up, Doyeon recognizes him with a faint glimmer of hope, though Han Young-chil immediately steps in to demand what he is doing there. Outside, the rain beats down against the police station, while inside, Young-kyo pores over the case notes, scrutinizing every detail of the story. When young Kyo demands to know why the junior detective is lingering, the younger officer brushes it off, promising to stay out of the way out of sheer curiosity, only to be told sharply to return to his own department. Left alone with his thoughts, Doyeon sinks back into a deep, heavy silence. Doyeon sits in the cold air of the police station. His mind is trapped in a loop of his friend's final broken words. Han Young-kyo watches him from across the desk, giving the boy space to find his way back from those dark thoughts. He asks if Doyeon is doing okay, but the boy just forces out a short answer to keep his mask from slipping. He is still struggling to stop his hands from shaking. The detective stands and says he has a handle on the story, but then he taps a folder and asks about the woman who arrived with Doyeon. Han Young-kyo confirms that the woman they found is the missing Kim Yoon-kyung, though she denies it, and Doyeon feels the room closing in as he waits for a name that could change everything, but when he presses for answers about Kang Seon, the officer won't share what the woman said. Instead, the man asks how Doyeon even heard about her when they have no real link to each other. Doyeon hesitates because he knows how crazy the truth is going to sound. He finally admits it. The dead girl spoke to him, and Seon was the one who told him herself. It's a confession that leaves the officer stunned, but Ha-yeon's brother cuts in just in time to suggest they let the exhausted kid go. Inside the precinct, Ha-yeon's brother argues for Choi Do-yeon's release, pointing out how close the young man is to breaking completely. Choi Do-yeon stands in quiet exhaustion until Han Young-cheo caves under the liability of keeping him, calling an end to the questioning for the day. Outside on the steps, Choi Do-yeon thanks him for stepping in, admitting how suffocating the whole ordeal felt. Looking at the exhaustion written all over Choi Do-yeon's face, Ha-yeon's brother asks what he's been hiding, but Choi Do-yeon just offers a tired smile and keeps the secret to himself. Standing outside the station, Ha-yeon's brother offers to trade contact information, but Choi Do-yeon refuses the offer, admitting quietly that he needs a ride to Donggu Apartments because he lacks the fare for a taxi. Ha-yeon's brother agrees to drop him off, watching with growing concern as Do-yeon insists on pushing forward despite clear exhaustion. Do-yeon refuses to take a break, holding fast to a promise he made as the weight of everything he has to carry presses down on him. The people waiting for him, the sheer stubbornness keeping him upright. Realizing he cannot talk him out of it, Ha-yeon's brother accepts his stubbornness and tells him to get moving, leaving Do-yeon deeply grateful for the small kindness. Ha-yeon's brother rushes to check on Choi Do-yeon, desperately calling out as he finds the streamer collapse on the ground, lost in the quiet weight of things past. Her voice echoes through the memory of a classroom, asking him to stream the game so she wouldn't have to sit alone and terrified of the waiting.